I like the new song, Bree. It's a vibe.
Cool.
Do we make that a thing?
Is that like the new permanent?
What?
I like that.
Do you like that? Okay, so I've been going back and forth between something like that or something that's a little bit more heavy, because I do like that.
Yeah, you're a heavy kind of gal.
I like that, like double. What do you call that? Like the
Double
drum
bass?
pedals when it's like the double. It's like I don't know. I like that kind of
I like
sound.
to discuss show production during the show. It's my favorite.
It's the best. It's the best. All right, everybody. Welcome to Bobby's Cryptic Corner. We are so excited because we have Connor, aka Bigfoot Ann, on here. And I want to start off by saying but congratulations on 69,000 followers on TikTok, which I think
69.
is the best number because it is. I mean, everyone says it's like one of the best positions, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like it's too much happening at once, and we should just like focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah, I don't do that shit.
That's what I'm saying.
That. I like
right?
that.
I just, it's too much. Everyone's confused. Everyone's having emotions. It's just, why not just focus on one thing at a goddamn time? So, but it is the best number.
69,000 or 6,900?
Just
whoa, damn.
Mm-hmm.
Monetize.
Yeah,
that
we in
shit,
the
boy.
grain. We in the
Yeah,
grain.
TikTok doesn't pay very well, but I'm in the creator fund, and it's really cool when I go live because you get donations on there, and I've had like 4,500 people on a live watching me.
No way. Do your Bigfoot stuff. Yeah.
Make casts and stuff, and really cool because when I'm out in the woods in the middle of the night, at least they can tell them where to go find me if my phone.
Something happens, right? Yeah.
I feel safer honestly when I'm with my camera
with a bunch of people.
Live.
Yeah.
It sounds silly, even when I'm with my GoPro and it's not actually live. Like it gives me a little bit like. At least we still know what happened to me, but it's really cool. TikTok 69,000, and we were joking on Twitter. Hopefully, I don't ruin it and get 70. And today I uploaded at like 5:00, and within the first hour, 6,000 on the video, and that's just crazy. So I encourage everybody get on TikTok.
It's a
discovery app. It's a discovery app. It's how you get discovered. It's how you discover new things. YouTube, it's content. It's not about discovery. But TikTok is. So I encourage everybody to get to that 1,000 and then just go live as much as you can. Like you guys have 1,000. So
we do.
You set up your camera, on your phone.
Telling Bree.
And just videotape. And you don't even have to acknowledge it. And sometimes. It'll be a dud, but sometimes it will somehow get into the algorithm and you'll boom 200 followers, just from a lot.
And all of a sudden something happens. Yeah. Well, and what's cool about it too is like you are already like walking around at night and doing these things and videotaping it. So it's cool that you've just like found a way now to like monetize that because now people are like watching, they're giving you donations. I'm sure people in the chat are like, oh my God, don't go there. Or, oh my God, do this or go that. So it's a cool, nice, interactive way to take something that you've been doing anyways for a long time and like show it to people because people are genuinely interested in that.
For sure, for sure. Go ahead, Bobby.
I was just gonna say it reminds me a lot. I'm a big fan of watching. Not that you're like an urban explorer, but I like that genre where it's like people just like digging through old buildings, old abandoned places, and it has kind of that vibe, that POV vibe to it. But instead, it's combining that, which is one of my favorite things, with another one of my favorite things, which is searching for evidence of elusive cryptids, right?
1,000,000%. And I definitely do some urban exploring. We just broke into a high lie arena, the wicker basket sport. There's a big one in Chattahoochee. It's called Big Bend High Lie Arena. A lot of good urban exploring videos on it. And I was actually waiting for my Dixie Cryptid interview to release the high lie video. So that's
I love that guy.
The next one. But 2.5 hours inside this huge arena, like imagine Staples Center abandoned, and we could just go through it. And it was awesome. I went with this awesome girl named Cassie and her little brother named AJ, and we filmed it for 2.5 hours. And there's tons of trespassing signs, and there's staff everywhere. And we had a chance to like walk around and sneak behind it, or just cut right in front of them. And I'm like, if we're trespassing, might as well just do it the least sneaky way. We went right in front of them. They didn't say a thing, and I was ready.
Like you own the place.
Oh yeah, 100%.
No, it's what you have to do.
Wait, so there's staff at this abandoned place?
It's a huge abandoned arena, but the property is being used for like some kind of storage for construction. Like it's huge tubes, like 60-foot long tubes. Y'all will see it in the video, but it's really cool place, and it's just a magical time.
Here's a little life advice that this reminded me of, is that I came to realize in an older age that, like myself, most people don't take their jobs very seriously. And if you live life like it's a Mentos commercial, like you're supposed to be someplace, like you give off vibes like what? It's kind of like that thing I saw, I think on TikTok recently, about when you carry a ladder anywhere, no one asks questions. So like I would just have that mentality
smart.
no matter what you go, what you're doing,
my
just
God.
pretend like
Just
you're supposed to be there, and very few people will actually stop you or ask you questions. You get away with a lot.
Imagine seeing me somewhere with a fucking a ladder though.
One time,
she's not doing shit.
One time we drove downtown. Side note, we drove downtown to go to this club, and like there was no parking, and my buddy just parked right in front of the door, got out, moved the cone in front of his car. And just the guy was like, "What?" He's like, "Not even worry about it. It's cool." And then we just kept walking, and like nothing happened. Like you can get away with
That's
that.
what my grandpa does. My grandpa's like that very much.
I think sometimes it's just about the amount of confidence you have to do something. And sometimes when you see somebody do something, you're like, if they're going to do it, like, well, who am I to stop them? Like, all right.
Yeah. Like hats off for having
They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
It looks like they know what they're doing. Exactly.
So
I feel like we should all. Oh, go ahead, Bobby.
I was going to say, Bigfoot Anon, did you get into urban exploring before cryptids, or did this kind of dovetail one into the other? Talk to me about that.
It was always together. I always loved monsters, unsolved mysteries, and then just breaking in and checking out, abandoned places with my friends. I grew up right by Helltown, which is in the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. It's like the real life Resident Evil, Raccoon City, Silent Hill. I know there's a real life Silent Hill like in Kentucky, but it's the Helltown. But there's a bunch of abandoned buildings in there and like barns. So it all just came together. And even that High Lie place, it's right across the street from the Bridges house where they filmed the second episode of Finding Bigfoot, the one with the smeared greasy hand right on the glass door. So literally I was ready for werewolves and Sasquatch in this huge arena. So sometimes the hairy man research takes us into tunnels that are man-made, like the Cincinnati, subway system, or these weird buildings that are just abandoned and forgotten about next to woods that would just be a perfect place to stay out of the weather. The real question is there such thing as a highlight court that's not abandoned? Because I've never met anyone that actually plays that sport. It looks cool, but it's just like, it seemed like it was a thing that just kind of came and went. So when you're kind of integrating with these abandoned, man-made structures with your searching for cryptids and whatnots, do you find that there are theories there's evidence, or that there are like evidence that perhaps a Sasquatch may co-opt a domicile into a man-made structure? Like, is there any kind of merit to saying that they kind of take over an abandoned building or something like that? Yes, there's tons of reports of them being seen in abandoned buildings, but they're also attracted to like abandoned drive-in theaters and places of high energy. That's why I think it's much deeper than just like sight, feel, and hear. It's something that pulls them to these locations. And then again, they're sheltered and out of it. There's been a lot of stories of them actually coinciding with human beings and living under the same roof. 50 Years with Bigfoot, written by Mary Green, talks about Janice Carter, the Carter farm, and the grandfather found a baby Sasquatch that was crushed by a tree and then basically adopted it. And he had it in the house for a couple days, but it basically tore everything up. So he put it in the barn for a while and then watched it grow up. And it's just an amazing story. And now Janice, where do you read about? Is this a book or a movie or what is this?
I've never heard of that before.
It's a book, but it's very expensive. But there's an audio book on YouTube. It comes in like 10 parts. I'll send it to all you guys. Mary Green, 50 Years with Bigfoot, about Janice Carter, the Carter farm. And Janice, oh my gosh, like she still exists and gets to talk to people. So you guys should honestly have her on the show. But she has telepathy with these creatures and communicates with them because she used to hold their hands growing up. And now she's been sharing these pictures of Grisha from overseas, the country we can't talk about. But I've been sharing them on my TikTok, and the videos and the pictures are unreal. I literally have footage of a Bigfoot driving a car. You know, it's just like things are going in crazy directions in this cryptid world. And some people aren't ready for it, but some of us are. These are ancient beings that used to ride on ships. So, yeah, they could probably ride a four-wheeler once in a while, but they don't have to. Again, if you can tap into the energy around you, you can just become. We are particle form right now, but you could become waveform. Our electrons, you know, they allow it. So these creatures that can probably manipulate the grid a little easier than we can, maybe they could tap into portals or just light energy a little different. But like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that takes training. You can't just zap away. But they're beings, they're advanced, and they are everywhere around us, continent-wise, and cave art and stories from credible resources like teachers, professors, police, military, firemen. I've talked to land surveyors that their equipment just like freaks out in weird pockets, and they think it's like labyrinths of cave, but also strange beings because they hear weird noises. So I just love being open about it and then letting the encounters and reports pour in, because I'm the cool hippie dude that took a lot of acid and now they feel comfortable with me. So it's, you know, I'm Bigfoot Anonymous, like Alcoholic Anonymous. You feel comfortable talking about cryptids with me, you know?
So
It's interesting that you
one
said
of
like a
the
phenomenal kind of thing.
one of the kind of running I guess theories that we have on the show is that if you're not open to high strangeness, it's probably not going to find you, or you're not going to be receptive to it if it is right in front of your face. So it's almost like you've taken that idea to the next level. You just put it all out there and see what comes back. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I was gonna wait 60 seconds for Harley Adam because he said, "God, can this guy shut his mouth for
I
60
was
seconds?"
like, do you want to?
Oh
I
man!
guess
Oh
we'll
man! You
respond
don't
to it real
even
quick.
know.
Somebody on our Twitch is saying that if we stop talking for 60 seconds, they want to donate us a shit ton of money if we donate half of it to something in Ukraine. And I said, for sure. Tell me what humanitarian aid you would want me to donate it to. Thank you, Harley Adam. Go ahead, everybody.
Yeah, catch us at the end of the show. We'll have a 61 or 69-second moment of silence.
Exactly.
For don't count on me to shut my freaking mouth, Harley.
I was like, we'll give you whatever you want. All right, go ahead.
It's rude.
Bobby, could you a short paraphrase of that again? I lost myself.
Yeah, so like I was saying, like we theorize that, you know, if you're not receptive to these things, or if you don't more or less like go all into some, or if you don't, if you're completely closed off to even the strangest facets of this phenomenon, you're less likely to be visited by these phenomenon, whether it be ghosts, Bigfoots, UFOs, it doesn't matter. So it's almost like your strategy is just like, let's just put it all out there. Let's own it. Let's accept the craziest, or at least consider the quote unquote craziest possibilities with all this, and then see what comes back.
Yes,
right?
1,000,000%. You have to be super open-minded because if you start building walls in this, you're going to miss some of the grandest details. And a lot of the organizations, they kind of shape the stories to meet some kind of quota. I'm big on let's hear it all. Like you had dreams about it the next few weeks. Yes, let's document that. That's important because I'm big on it happens in many different realms. I've had real Sasquatch encounters that physically happened to me. I've had mental things that just come in blurs, and then I've had face-to-face encounters in my dreams that felt just as real as, you know, everyday waking life. So you just have to account for everything. And I am big on just consciousness really connects to it all. So it really starts inside our minds. And then if these creatures can see like predator or maybe just sense energy, then yes, they are going to know who's closed-minded. They're going to know who's gone through trials and tribulations. They're going to know who's ready for an encounter. And sometimes they reveal themselves maybe to make people more ready or maybe more tough for their future. But sometimes people are not ready, and there's people in therapy. And Port Chatham, they had to totally abandon their whole town and village after a lot of the people started going missing. So it's crazy that people, you know, stand on this skeptic thing. Like imagine a skeptic of giraffes. Like that's how serious I take skeptics of Sasquatch. Like you're talking about, there's so much footage, so many pictures. hundreds, thousands of DNA samples recovered, and then all the credible encounters, and you're going to still stand there and say, yeah, I don't think it's real, or it might have existed at one point, but not anymore. No, no. I'm big on let's cut that rhetoric out. People are like, oh, we don't have any good pictures. What, you haven't seen my TikTok, my Instagram, my books? I'm trying to just make this bridge easy for people, because I guess it's so far away. They're like, there's no proof. Yes, it is. I brought my Sasquatch hair to the Great Florida Bigfoot Conference. I let people see what it looks like. I let people see what it looks like under a microscope with, pictures of what it looks like under a microscope. But man, I'm all about bringing it to the real, same thing with the TikTok lives. Like, I'm here live and direct, slipping on my butt, messing up some of the cast, but it's live and direct. It's not 4 years later through, Animal Planet, edited down and retold and fake sounds and dramatic music. I'm just telling it how it is. And sometimes it's somewhat, a little slow. And then other times people are finding things behind me that I didn't even sense. So it's so much bigger than me and my journey. Like, people get to live vicariously through my adventures. At the very least, some people can't walk anymore, and they get to see my happy ass, trolling around the woods. And at the very, like, that's enough, for me. So I just love this journey, and it begins with consciousness. And I've put myself outside of society and outside of my family, and I'm scorned by most people that knew me. But then you build back and you show them who the real you is, and you're not some crazy lunatic. You're just someone that really cares about this earth and himself. And sometimes you got to lose yourself to find yourself. And that's what I'm about, Lived out of my car for a long time. And now I live in a trailer, and I feel like I have more than enough. It's amazing.
No, I feel you on that.
Go ahead, Jamie.
No, I was gonna say I feel you on that. Sometimes I think a lot of people like underestimate, like, oh, you're not successful, you don't have this, you don't do that. And it's like, sometimes that's not what it's about, and that's not the joy that you get out of life. Like, you have a roof over your head and you're doing the things that you love, and like, you can tell how immensely happy and how much you are enjoying life. Like, it's absolutely obvious. And I think that people need to stop thinking so much about like earthly things, about what kind of cars people drive or things like that. And it's about just like enjoying yourself and creating and like being yourself and doing it truthfully and honestly, and just like putting it out there.
And that's the thing too, I always admire about people that go out into the field. A lot of them are obviously more skeptical or quote unquote scientific than, say, Bigfoot Anon is. However, their attitude is like, yo, like, even if we don't find anything, like, we got to chill in the woods for like several days, and like, that's good enough, right? That's still my deal. But I think you brought up an interesting point about like TV documentaries on high strangeness versus what you're doing. What you're doing is more DIY, in the moment, POV. It is what it is. Take it or leave it. This is the journey. Whereas I think that the television production approach to it, though I am a fiend for that stuff and I'll watch anything on it whenever it's available, like, their job is to tell a narrative in every single one of those episodes, whether something happens or not. Like you said, SRD audio that they implement, or even I've interviewed people that are worked on ghost hunters that are like, yeah, we have to kind of like shift it to tell a story in various ways and things like that. And I think that lends it discredit to a degree, though it exposes a lot of people to these topics. Like, at the end of the day, it's still television, it's still a story you have to tell. And I think in this age of TikTok and YouTube and is Periscope still a thing? This stuff. Like,
yes.
We're just like going out there like you're doing. You're just like, hey, like, this is what I do. You can come along. We don't need any quick cuts and fast edits and added audio later. It's just like, here it is, and it's interesting that so many people gravitate towards that.
So we want the real perspective. I think
and we want it
at
our fingertips at all times.
Of script, it's not reality TV if it's scripted, but all reality TV on television is scripted. So I think people are eager for that raw material. And like you were saying, Connor, even if you're messing up on a cast, it's like, that doesn't really matter. It's the fact that they're seeing it in real time. People, I think, like to watch people's mistakes, because we're not perfect, but we're out here doing it, and that's what it is. It's not about being perfect. You don't start a channel because you're perfect at something. You start a channel because you maybe know something or you have an interest. And I think that's kind of all that matters. People want that. I don't know if I missed this earlier, but I wanted to ask you if you believed in Bigfoot as a child.
Yes, I did. But just like everybody, you think it's one guy, it's like one Bigfoot out there. But then I quickly, learned like this is a species, of course. But I grew up in Ohio where we had the Ohio grassman. And then the Minerva monster, and my town was the Brunswick Blue Devil, which it made it look like a devil, kind of like a, I guess, little gremlin. But in West Virginia history, the Blue Devil is a werewolf, a dogman. And I actually had a dogman encounter when I was young. Yes, that's like a Mothman, Mooseman, Goatman.
I don't think that's what he was saying.
Yeah. I was like, that's my goblin.
Oh, okay,
Let's start with like your earliest undeniable encounter. Can you walk us through that? Whether it be a dogman or a Bigfoot or whatever.
Yes, it would be that one. It was the Sleepy Hollow Wolfman. And my friends Jake and Alex actually had a daytime encounter like 2 months before it. So I heard everything about this creature. They thought it was a deer at first, but it was walking on 2 legs and it ran off and jetted up a hill at lightning bolt speed. And I actually had them type out a testimony for my first book. So it's really cool to paint a picture of like all 3 of us young kids and our differing attributes of it, but how it all does come together. But we're sleeping over his house before a golf league. So it was a Friday night before a Saturday morning, early morning. And it was the first time I ever slept over his house, and he is well off. So I was super excited just for that. And he has a really nice basement with like a bar, a pool table, and a walk-out basement, like a glass door that just goes into the big yard and then into the woods. And that area is caves and cliffs, that whole peninsula. And what I mentioned earlier is about the abandoned drive-in theater and an abandoned swimming hole that had like a cement diving area. So that was definitely like a kick-it spot for people back in the day. And I'm guessing for these elementals and these deities that are magnetized and maybe like harness and harvest our past energy. But this creature was down in the den, like in the woods. But we are playing pool for like 2 hours, one and a half hours, and we get this strange feeling. And my buddies described it as hearing like rumbling, like physically hearing rumbling outside and like rustling in the feathers or the leaves. I didn't hear any of that. It was more internal, kind of like sixth sense, third eye, maybe even infrasound. I don't think he was trying to zap us or hurt us, but maybe just let us know he was there. Or it could have just been one of those feelings like, when someone's watching you. We felt something. We turn off the lights and we move away from the walkout part, and we're peeking through this little window, all 3 of us, and we see this hulking figure just in the back. And it felt like time froze, but I'm guessing we looked at it for probably like 3 to 5 seconds. And then we dove into the staircase, and I saw how dark the creature was. It was darker than the night. I don't remember seeing any eyes or anything, and honestly really couldn't even see the major shape of like the ears or anything. But I always knew it was Wolfman, werewolf. Like they never said really Sasquatch, so I never pictured that. So it was always the Wolfman, and this was long before Dogman was ever a term or any of that. But of course, we were familiar with Anubis and maybe even dog soldiers at that point. But it was just so crazy. But we dove in for a few minutes, and then we end up creeping back out and looking, and the coast was clear. And we end up watching a movie that night, Saving Private Ryan, and getting so scared. I just remember being curled up, like shaking, and then going all the way upstairs to Alex's room, from the basement floor up 2 floors to the room. And the next morning, his mom is like, "Oh, why did you guys sleep upstairs?" And we said we saw the creature. And she actually confirmed it by saying that she heard owl-like man calls pretty much every night since they've moved in. So it's just really crazy that like a church bookie lady would, kind of meet us halfway. And then really things just transpired. But they never really had anything happen after that. We did go in the cave, weeks later, but never really too far into it, because honestly, it probably goes into the aquifer.
Yeah, and the caves are scary as shit. Like you have to be very careful when you go into those things, because like you could squeeze through a hole and not be able to fucking come back out. Like that's a very big possibility.
Oh yeah, the people that like the spelunking thing, I'm like, nope,
spelunking.
No, thank you. I'm all set. I'm 6'5" and not into that shit.
Yeah, Bobby, you're not going anywhere.
Have you seen that movie, The Descent? It's horrifying. And it's not horrifying because there's troll goblins in the caves. It's horrifying because it's in a cave in general.
In a cave in general, yeah.
What movie? What movie?
The Descent.
With
It's like
Descent.
2006 or
I feel
something.
like I've seen that.
It's a scary ass movie. But
Neil Marshall directed it.
Yeah. Speaking of dog soldiers,
I don't know about Dog Soldiers yet.
Yo, guys, it's guy talk. Don't.
Okay, go ahead.
You should watch Dog Soldiers.
It's guy talk. That's fucking sexist.
Yeah, hate crime. Give me a hate crime.
Okay, hold on.
You deserve a hate crime for that.
Okay, hold on.
Who says that?
Bro talk. Sorry.
Bro talk.
I didn't mean it the way it came out. Okay, so how far away was it? Would you say it's like a silhouette, or like you said it was just very dark? Like, talk to me about exactly what
I'd say it was about 20 yards away, maybe 25 yards, so like 60 feet.
Oh my god, I love Dixie Cryptid.
It was pretty quick.
Sorry.
Yeah,
That's where
I'm
Connor was
geeking out
just
right now
at.
because Dixie.
That's where Connor. That's where Connor was just at. That's who he was. Whose channel he was on just before ours.
That man's voice puts me to sleep every night. So that's exciting. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, there you go, Bobby.
Sure, it says sleep. That's great.
Yeah, I'm geeking out right now. Anyway, continue, please.
Yeah, it was about 20 to 25 yards. So about 60 to 75 feet. It wasn't that far, but it wasn't that close. I'd say it was a little bit more than a silhouette. I don't want to say I like saw its fur or hair, but I saw its blackness, not like just like a shadow. I saw its blackness, but definitely have had closer, scarier encounters since. And it's crazy you brought up the Descent, because the one I was going to mention next was a white creature that I saw. I don't know if it was a hairless Sasquatch or kind of like a prowler, a lurker, one of these cave crawlers like Gollum, or maybe like an extended Puckwudgie. But I was driving home when I was probably like 18 or 19 from my job, family video. It was past midnight. I was going Prospect Road to Boston, and Boston leads all the way to Helltown, so it's all connected. But I was going, and it was really misty. I was heading towards Boston Road, and the last two steps, this creature took over the road and then just darted into the forest. And my lights shined perfectly bright on it. I saw it clear as day, white. I could like kind of see its veins. It felt like because I don't know if it was blue because of its veins or just how kind of skin's got that blue white look sometimes, especially if it's been wet and outside and pruny, but I'm not entirely sure what that creature was. It was not very big. It was like probably 5 to 6 feet, but it was probably 45 yards ahead of me. That one was farther away but clear, the light shining bright on it was all I needed.
Now, have you had like encounters with more than just like, I feel like cryptid creatures? Like, have you had like ghost encounters and like maybe some UFO sightings and things like that in your life? Because I think here on our channel, we try to tie in the two between the UFO and the paranormal. We think that it's all the same. So do you think that, there is a commonality between all these things, and are you experiencing that?
1,000,000% for sure. I've had a lot of paranormal encounters and experiences, and just weird spiritual stuff happen. I've had really bad nightmares that like I had to like go to the doctor for when I was younger. The sister in Pet Sematary, Zelda, with the back problem, really gave me like horrible nightmares. So like all witches and weird female demons have always like really messed with me, and that's why I always have black cats, and I'm really big on like protection. But yes, I've had stuff that's outside of like the cryptid realm happen as well, and I'm really big on like psychedelics. So I have pushed the boundaries on DMT, and seen fractals and seen maybe creatures that are myself, or maybe these, I haven't seen elves, like these machine elves, but maybe it was representations of them. But I've also remote viewed deep on, Hawaiian baby wood rose potions. It's really crazy practice that the Indians used to use. It's this tea that you really get sick, but you can communicate with the other side. And I've done that like 40 to 50 times, and it ranged from body buzz to full on, seeing missing people going missing.
How'd you get that? How do you get that?
Yeah, it was like, where? Yeah, who's your hookup? Who's your
You
hookup?
can
Is it
order
online?
Hawaiian baby wood rose seeds online legally, perfectly legal,
Oh.
but it is illegal to extract them. But that's in between you and your fridge. You crumble them up
Ah,
and you put it in a shot glass, cold water extraction.
it's super illegal to do this, but here's how you do it.
Yep.
I love
And,
no, we
then
love
you
that.
put
We
it-
encourage
put it
that
in
on
a
our
shot
channel.
glass
This was a
overnight,
guest on Bobby's Cryptid Corner saying this, not the host of.
Time out.
In
Time
Florida,
out.
it's
I don't
legal.
care.
Connor, can you say that
It could come
again?
from me in
Everything
the
is
swamp.
there in Florida. Connor,
What's it
I'm
called again?
sorry. We've
Hawaii-
interrupted. We're stuck on the like what? Can we
Like, let's
can you
do
start over with the
drugs.
detail? Yeah. I need the details.
The drugs. Hawaiian baby wood rose seeds. They
Hawaiian
contain
baby wood rose seeds.
They
Sounds
contain
like a jam
LSA,
band.
which is like LSD's little sister. You can also get
Oh.
them in morning glory seeds, but for
Ooh,
a dose
I
of
like that.
Hawaiian baby wood rose, it's like 10 to 25 for a dose. But then morning glory, you have to eat like 200 seeds, so put it in like a snack pack. But don't order the ones from the store because they have poison. But it's very interesting, and you will pay a price. You will get a little bit of a stomach ache, but it really opens you up to just the other side. And the ancient people used to use it to communicate. So yeah, man, I'm all about tripping shrooms in the forest to communicate.
I was like, so
with these creatures.
how so you said this tea, have you done like LSD probably before, some things like that. So what are some things that you've used to communicate with these kind of things other than those?
Yeah, LSD, even nutmeg, because nutmeg is just a spice that you find in your kitchen. It is a cousin of mescaline, like the cactus. So if you can absorb it and smoke it correctly, you can definitely trip out. But I definitely use ganja out there in the forest. We meditate out there. We use some type of like instruments, kind of like ocarina.
Wait, is it kind of like CE5 but for like cryptids and Bigfoots and shit?
Yeah,
Sounds
exactly.
like
Yo, that's super cool. See, that's what I mean. These things are so connected. People think that they're so different, but like the same way you're calling out cryptids is almost the same way we call out UFOs.
Exactly. I'm big on the CE5 and kind of trying to, and we find the tendencies and the practices. We can forget about the people trying to make money off of this stuff. We got to absorb what the practice and the knowledge inside. But yeah, man, I'm all about bringing the vibrations because they see that and they feel that, and all the people I ride with got the vibe, and we all, have had crazy experiences in our life. So I'm
your fucking
all
tribe.
connected. Bazillion percent.
Have you guys heard about the kid that took too much nutmeg and like fucked himself? So like everyone out there, nutmeg, yes, just don't eat the entire fucking thing of nutmeg. I don't know if you guys heard about this. The kid that ate the nutmeg, too much nutmeg.
I thought it was because he like coughed or whatever and it went in his lungs and burnt his lungs. I thought that's what it was.
Because he knew it was a hallucinogen if you took a certain amount, but he took like an entire like spice thing of it all in one sitting. Kids
what did it do to him? What did it do? What was the outcome?
Use their noggin. He went to the hospital. All kinds of shit happened. All of his like organs shut down. He couldn't drink enough water, and then he couldn't expel the water. It was awful. I saw a medical thing on it that someone did, and it was like, what the it was like one thing after the next. It was bad.
Damn.
It's because people think like, oh yeah, I can take this and I'll trip, so why don't I just take a giant thing of it? No, people don't realize, like, if you're gonna dabble with hallucinogens, you should put a little bit of brain into
nutmeg.
it.
You don't inject nutmeg.
That's why I just wanted to put out the disclaimer here. Like, use your noggin. Everything that you should
none
do.
None of us are endorsing this
to experiment.
Or encouraging it.
Listen, life's a journey.
Hey, so I guess I can abandon my question about where you fall on the flesh and blood versus supernatural paranormal side of Bigfoot encounters.
It sounds paranormal.
That question has very much been answered organically. But that said, like, how do you, like, what are your thoughts on, I guess, more aggressive encounters where it seems like maybe like a primordial reaction, like an aggressive animal in the woods. Like we've heard your side, it's just kind of like good vibes and like mind speak and all that stuff. How do you respond to more aggressive encounters that you hear about? What are your thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
those are definitely out there. According to Owlman, Sasquatch has a strict code, and they are not allowed to harm human beings, or they will be exiled. So either these creatures have already been exiled, or they maybe never were part of a tribe. But rest in peace to Dennis Martin. You know, he was taken by a hairy person. I'm not sure if it was a feral man or a Sasquatch. Henry McCabe, he was killed by a strange creature. It was recorded on his voicemail. Cullen Finnerty, he played in the NFL. He was like 6'5", your size, and two big dark guys were chasing him in the woods. I wonder what that was. He died of pneumonia after throwing up and swallowing it himself. And there's cows out there that get scared to death and they die of a certain type of pneumonia. Of course, Jared Adedero, he was 2 years old, and then he went up to some hikers and fishermen and said, "Is there any bears here?" Again, I think he probably saw some Sasquatch, and that's all he could really attribute it to. Those are just a couple examples of the creatures crossing the line 100%. So you definitely have to be very careful. I've been so scared in the woods that, you know, I thought I was the next one to be killed. So I'm definitely head on a swivel out there. But I also know that 99.9% of the time, there is a code of the forest. But there's so many other things out there, like dogmen creatures, gator creatures, and reptilians and things that zap from the sky, and then just electrical anomalies that we might, you know, fall into, or vortexes like the Montana vortex. You walk along a straight line, you literally get shorter. So imagine I'm, you know, 2 hours into a hike and then just sit on a little tree stump, and then boom, I somehow fall into a weird pocket, you know. And I'm big, yeah, they are flesh and blood. You and I are flesh and blood, but we're supernatural too, you know. Deja vu, electricity, love, also just the mother-child relationship. You can feel each other through walls. So we are supernatural. So that, I'm big on hopefully being an advocate that, you know, energy is available. That, like I mentioned before, particle form, we are solid, but our true electrons have the true being of waveform. Of course, that's mostly when we die, but in real moments, we might be able to tap in.
It's almost like, for lack of a better word, like the kind of hippy dippy lens of Bigfoots that doesn't necessarily like immediately put them in this camp of like a peace and love creature by default, right? They're still go ahead.
Still the beast of the woods, still the alpha, you know. But people have beautiful relationships with these creatures too. But just like human beings, we have friends, we have foes. You know, we got average Joes trying to take notes at us. They were saying I got spoken word. You know, they should.
They did, yeah.
They should look up Sequina too.
So
rapgenius.com, baby.
You were talking about this like strict code. So like what I'm curious to know, do you know more about what this code is that these Bigfoot are supposed to follow?
Yeah, Owlman has called into like Sean G, Chasing the Truth, How to Hunt. Steve Isdall has covered him a bunch. I guess he has been accepted by a tribe of Sasquatch, and they call him Owlman because he was always talking to the owls. But yes, I definitely will share the link with people so they could hear it. It's like 2 hours worth of information. But yes, they have a strict code. They're not allowed to harm human beings. Most of them aren't even allowed to be spotted at all. They face like strict consequences. They're big family oriented, and then they kick the male out to find a new family once he hits mature age, because I'm guessing once he hits puberty, it just gets crazy. But yeah, there's a lot of crazy details that tap into it. They call themselves the people. They call the great creator, and a lot of people think they're descendants of Cain. So Owlman said, "Hey, are you a descendant of Cain?" And he answered back, "I'm a descendant of Eve." So that answered it for me, at least. He said, "Yeah, I am, but I'm also a descendant of Eve too." And you know, the Book of Mormon, Joseph Smith in the 1800s, he found Cain like in real time. 1800s is basically yesterday if we're talking Bible times, you know. So he found Cain in modern day, and he was as tall as him on a horse covered in hair. Like, that's amazing. That doesn't make me Mormon, but that makes all of them grass man people. But I just love, you know, this is my church. This is very serious for me, you know.
No, no, absolutely. But that's the thing. I feel like people, when they get super passionate about these kind of things, and the more and more they get into it, it's like it becomes your reality. Like, I think probably now, because you are so enthralled with it, you probably see it and have more interaction with anyone, because you yourself are going out there and presenting yourself to interact with it. You know what I mean? And not a lot of people are doing that every day and harnessing that energy. And so I think that you are inherently, inviting that into yourself. And because you're doing that, it keeps happening over and over and over again.
100%. It starts with manifestation. You have to see your experiences. You have to see your expeditions through at home. It starts at home, and even like when you're going out, grouping energy together. If you're going to hike with people, practice some stretches and practice some breathing exercise in the parking lot right when you get out. All of us do deep breaths. All of us do fast breaths, shoulders to ears, because that just brings us together as energy. Imagine if it's all four of us and we just get out of our cars and then hit the path.
Sure.
One of us going to be blue, one of us going to be green. We're all going to be different. If we can come together, wow, our energy's together, and they're going to be more interested themselves.
So you synchronize. You synchronize through breathing. You're synchronizing your energies through breathing techniques, and then you go out. I love that. Yep. That is so powerful.
100%. And sometimes mid-hike, we have, some seances that we say, and we talk like that for 60 straight seconds. You start to open things up in your own brain, but imagine what the forest, that kind of sounds like samurai chatter. And then you got 4 people doing it. It's very cool. And then we're doing it next to the Torreya tree, which Noah used to build the ark. It's special. I was brought here for a reason, I believe.
So just keeping in mind that a lot of our audience is kind of overflow from the UFO side of this channel. Can you kind of go into like what mind speak is and maybe some of the experiences you've had with that side of things?
Yeah, definitely. I have had just glares and vibes. I am big on my third eye and just absorbing it in. I know some people that they get direct messages from these creatures, that they know their names. And it also comes in other forms too. My good friend, Squatch in South Florida, Matt Williamson, he used divination rods, the metal rods that you can communicate. If it crosses, it means yes. If it opens, it means no, or vice versa. You develop a relationship with that. But mind speak is basically telepathy. You have these creatures enter your mind with either thoughts, vibrations, or maybe persuasion. And sometimes it might lead you to your death, and then other times it might lead you back to your camp. I have definitely been guided by the forest, but I've also been trying to be seduced by the forest, and we didn't go. So you have to find that balance. And my buddy Tristan, he calls it his spidey senses. I just call it the vibes, and if it doesn't feel right, it don't feel right. We go another way. But mind speak is all internal. But one really cool encounter that happened around here that I've investigated is the Kevin Saunders encounter. Happened at the Apalachicola National Forest. He talked about it on Bigfoot Odyssey, a couple episodes about it. But a female Sasquatch approached him in camp, not visible yet, but mentally spoke to him, mind speak, and then brought him out in the forest, had a visual encounter, spoke more through mind speak, no actual voice. They got to know each other, and he was speaking mentally back too. So guys, your thoughts in your head, they could be heard by the forest and things around us. So, just remember that, because we're all made out of water. Our thoughts shape us. It all matters, guys.
So when you hear telepathy or mind speak, are you hearing like more or less like the English language in your own head? Like, does it have a distinct, cadence and like voice to it, or is it just like a feeling you get? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I do. Mine come in feelings, because I haven't had those. Hey, it's Habe,
If you listen to the Les Stroud interview when he's talking about, what I'm talking about, when the Survivor Man, when he's talking about, he's kind of an agnostic with all this stuff, and he describes a time where he heard mind speak, and the way he described it, almost like he heard sentences in his head from something out there in the wilderness, right? So I'm just curious as to how it's interpreted internally.
Yeah, that's definitely the traditional mind speak. Mine definitely come into vibes. I'm just getting the vibes from the forest. I haven't been communicated directly, at least that I've picked up on, like in the exact sounds. But they do have their own language. They speak, all the different Native American languages. In the 50 years with Bigfoot, they talk about how Fox knew like 6 different native languages. But they also speak English, but they also have their own words. Like Habe means wolf. Nawk, Nawk, means friend. There's like 2 full pages of translations in that same book. So I use those out in the forest too, mixed with Owlman's communication. But yes, it does come in direct their voice or maybe your own voice sometimes. I know it comes in many different forms, but they do have a voice. In that Kevin Saunders one, she brought him to the forest all through the mind speak. He heard her voice the whole time, and then he was introduced to her parents with a visual sighting. And it's just super crazy because that location is right by Tate's Hell State Forest, where C.B. Tate went missing for 7 days after going into the cursed swamp. And he said he saw swamp giants, an Amazon woman that took care of him every night, and then panthers and strange creatures. And he died after 7 days. So it just all connects, but telepathy definitely comes in many different forms and waves. I haven't, experienced the direct words, but I know credible people that have. And the information that was passed along wouldn't be known by any other entity. So there's some kind of special connection between it all. Just like people speak with their eyes, and we know what each other are gonna say.
And there's feelings with stuff. Yeah, like you could I'm sure you could shoot a glance to your partner, and they know exactly what that glance means. It's like that kind of things. You just get feelings, and those type of things. So then I have a question, Connor. So you talk about telepathy, and you were talking about like these different locations. So what are really good locations if people or does it not matter if you're just spiritually going out there and trying to find them? How do you where's a good spot to try to go Bigfoot hunting to have these experiences and stuff? Because I feel like everybody has their own little secret spot, right? They're like, you don't have to give us specifics by any means. You could be like this state or that state or something like that. Because I know a lot of people keep it secret. They're like, I don't want to give out
maybe about where in the state. Like I was actually just thinking that. I know if I wanted to do that around here, it's like, where would I go? Are there certain types of environments? So maybe like Jamie's saying where to go. And then if there aren't specifics, what types of environments would you say? Or is it a mindset, I guess?
I think it's a combination of everything. Of course, if you can find areas that have had, famous sightings, definitely go there first. Definitely search, BFRO, listen to tons of podcasts, search it on Google, just, blank Bigfoot sightings and then see if it's a hot spot. But definitely state parks, national parks, anywhere near major lakes or rivers, they use the creeks and telephone poles or telephone lines as highways. So anywhere along that, anywhere dense that is going to hold rabbit, pig, or deer, that is going to be more than enough food. But also in fruit vineyards, even nut vineyards, like almond trees, they love almonds. But man, pretty much everywhere, but everywhere that is dense in forest, they can hide, and they will surprise you with how close they can get. People think that they can't cross the street. They definitely cross the street. They've been seen on security cameras. I'm going to Flat Rock Booger's house this weekend, and his video is my most famous one on TikTok, 4.8 million. But a creature came onto his front porch and banged on his side of his house, and it's just super crazy. And then one's actually opened his door and peeked its head in. So these things have entered people's homes. So, Monsters and Mysteries around the corner. That's my third book. We don't got to travel too far. But some really hot spots, Salt Fork in Ohio, Hocking Hills, Wheeling, West Virginia, Moundsville, West Virginia, Uwharrie National Forest in North Carolina, Savannah, Georgia, Okefenokee Swamp in Georgia, Green Swamp, Everglades, Myakka, Torreya State Park, Blackwater State Forest, all in Florida. Right here, coolest place where I live, I'm less than 10 minutes away from the Ocheesee Pond, where in 1874, the Ocheesee Pond wildman was captured after harassing women and children. at this swamp village, and then Native American gatherers and Civil War veterans teamed up, surrounded it on an island, and then netted it. And then they sent it to Tallahassee, and the governor said, "Oh, no way, send them to Chattahoochee Hospital." And Chattahoochee is very well known for being cruel and experimental. Gary Oldman was in a movie called Chattahoochee. And luckily, my best friend down here is the head IT guy at the grounds and lives there. So I get to explore where the Ocheesee Pond Wild Man is actually buried. After 3 years of experimenting on him, they buried him on the grounds. And supposedly they built a building on top of him. I've heard other rumors that he's by the golf course. So we are just searching and scouring above ground. And I'm going to try to get in the DUMB, the Deep Underground Military Base, because there's one underneath too. Oh, yeah. And I filmed the entrances, and the landlord even said he threatened Jack pretty much. But that is one of my favorite stories, and I've lived out of my car across America from Ohio to Florida all the way to California and back, and somehow I'm 10 minutes away from the coolest Bigfoot story that really hasn't been uncovered. Like, doesn't get talked about for how cool it is.
Yeah, I've never even heard of that. That's awesome.
I have a question. You can't intersect. I've been raising my hand.
I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
Listen, you mentioned something that actually really sparked my own little rabbit ears. National parks. So something that we've definitely talked about here, because obviously it's also alien related. And the whole missing 411 thing, the missing people that go missing in national parks, and all of that. And we've gone over all the different scenarios, who, why, what, and I feel like we always kind of land in a Bigfoot scenario, but I don't really believe that they would just harm people or like snatch people. But because you said national parks, I'm curious as to what you know, or maybe the why, if Bigfoot Sasquatch is such a hot spot for them. What do you think? There's a connection possibly with the missing people? I mean, there has to be, right? The fact that you said that it's one of the places to look for, and that's also one of the places where people go missing. Do you think there's a connection? If so, what?
Yes, 1,000,000%. There's a connection. It goes back to Teddy Roosevelt. He's the one that created national parks, and he is a famous cryptid hunter. He actually hunted down Sasquatches, and actually told the story of Osman, Albert Osman, or Bauman. I think it's Trapper Bauman. Bauman got taken by a Sasquatch, and a lot of people say that Bauman is actually Theodore Roosevelt. But you know, he had political goals in his future, so he wrote it as like a third-person story. But some of the details are like impossible to know unless you were there. But the whole story is Teddy Roosevelt and his whole team push these creatures into these protected areas, and then people go deep into it and say there's treaties that say, hey, those are the areas that, you know, what happens, you know, it's protected. But I definitely think there is a correlation between people going missing, just like Dennis Martin talked about. That was a missing 401 case. They talked about it, actually a feral man being seen by the Key family and then it being covered up. So that definitely makes me think a lot of other cases. Again, back to Owlman, he asked them, of course, about missing 401, and he said that sometimes in the cases that they find the clothes, you know, perfectly folded on a rock in the middle of a rapid river, sometimes that is Sasquatch maybe closing the bridge. Maybe one got out of control, and kind of like George and Lenny of Mice and Men. Remember when he's holding that girl and then he strangles her to death? I feel like sometimes creatures maybe just want to play with us and accidentally kill us, and then it's like, boom, oh my god, they're going to send in the Green Berets and kill us all. So they try to meet it halfway, but
be respectful about it.
And those are the respectful ones. But I definitely know there are some cases that they are taking humans to reproduce with us and to keep us as slaves. And then there's other ones that are like, slaves? I'm guessing that there's human beings out there that willingly join these tribes and probably are accepted at some point. So it's really crazy where it gets between feral people, Wrong Turn, and Sasquatch, and really all of it's connected in the Appalachian Mountains. But man, I definitely think there's a correlation, and I want to spread awareness because the news isn't talking about missing 411. And it's up to us internet podcasters to spread awareness, and we are doing a great job. I just want to mention Ben McDaniel. He's a missing 401 case that is right around this corner, right around this area. He was a diver, and he liked to break the rules, so he went past a gate into the forbidden area. But he was a really big guy, and a diver right here in town, Ed Sorensen, one of my friends. He actually was on the recovery team and tried to find him. And the guy is way bigger than Ed, so wherever Ed could go, the guy probably couldn't get to. Never found him. They did analysis on the water, no dead bodies or anything. They searched all the abandoned swamp or surrounding swamps in the area. Never found him. Just a very, very mysterious case. But I definitely think that there's UFO abductions from the extraterrestrials, anomalies with electrical that's maybe sometimes you just lean on the wrong boulder and it swallows you up, because boulder fields and granite are really high in electricity, and then we are really high in electricity, and sometimes boom, static shock. And then there's things like the back rooms and the dark rooms, those creepy pastas that you just fall into in existence, like under our world, and you can never get out. So I hope it's not a situation like that, but energy is energy. It can go many places.
It's like that Channel Zero episode when they find
strange.
the staircase in the woods. That's a good ass show. So assuming that you believe there is a connection, and correct me if you don't, like where do, let's say, like conventional alien archetypes fall into all this? Like the Greys, for example. Is there any
Good
kind
question.
of
What's the connection?
Yeah.
We all know there's a
relationship with
connection,
these?
right? We all know there's a connection.
Because there's
So,
the whole like
what,
prison
why,
planet
how?
theory with all this. There's, Sasquatches are the scouts of the Greys theory, like that whole thing. So where do you fall on that question?
I definitely think they're connected, but not as directly connected sometimes as people like to, like, oh yeah, there's a Sasquatch and an alien like driving in a spaceship. But if there's extraterrestrials, something that is super smart and advanced in technology, they're going to be very interested in the things here on the surface. So us human beings and these other creatures in the forest that are doing Earth better than we are. So
they're not necessarily like the henchmen for extraterrestrials. So I don't know, I'm just going to throw this out there. You guys feel free to chime in on your thoughts. I just feel like certain locations are more susceptible to high strangeness. Thus, you will see UFOs in the same places as Sasquatches. That doesn't necessarily mean they're directly related, right?
But why the same time then?
Well,
because
so
it's
like,
in a
so
it's
like
in a
I
location
personally
that's
think
more-
that like, okay, so it's not like that aliens and Bigfoots are fucking brothers and sisters or cousins or some shit, but I think that they come from that same other side of the veil, that paranormal, that otherworldly, that not of this earth kind of thing. And I think that that's where that connection is, and it's not as physical as we want it to be. I think that we want to physically connect them somehow, like they have the same genes or they're different species or they come from the same planet, but I think it's so much bigger than that. I think it's like on a bigger scale, like we would think of humanity, like it's there's a big umbrella under all of it because it all comes from that same area. So I personally think sometimes when you see the UFO and the Bigfoot sightings or the cryptid sightings at the same time, it's because you're in an area where that veil is just incredibly thin, and so you're experiencing all of these phenomenons, not because a Bigfoot is being abducted by an alien.
You said it better than I did. Yes, that's what I was
Okay.
saying.
I don't agree with that.
No? Okay.
No, I feel like in a lot of cases, it's not that the UFOs are abducting Bigfoot. It's that people think that they are working in tandem because maybe someone will see a Bigfoot, there will be a UFO above a Bigfoot or swoop around, and then they will get abducted. So not like one is abducting the other, but like they're both seen, and then there's a strange UFO or a strange Bigfoot experience, almost like they, I don't want to say have an agreement, but they're just like, hey, like we're working on this together. That's what I think it feels like to a lot of people. And a lot of encounters that I've read on, that's basically the situation. Like someone's camping, they're, it's nighttime, they're fishing. They see a UFO or they see a Bigfoot first, and then one of the other appears. Like they're there at the exact same time for that person.
Or what if
why?
experiencing one before the other just crashes someone's entire paradigm hard drive to the point where in that moment they're even more vulnerable to other forms of high strangeness because they've just been exposed to something completely out of their mental vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
So as their brain is rebooting, they're more. I'm just speculating here. As their brain is
I am
rebooting,
too. I'm speculating on your speculations. I think that's an interesting thought. Like if when you see something so paranormal that is paradigm shifting, shattering,
Mm-hmm.
your normal barriers of reality falls to a certain extent because you're seeing something. So then
Totes.
therefore if it's in that same strange interdimension, if it's breaking down, can you then see other things that's also in that weird in between dimensional space?
That's
an
yeah.
interesting thought.
So it's a couple of different. It's like almost like a perfect storm thing. Like one, geographic location mixed with, are you happen to be in the area within that geographic location? Are you open to it? Are you not open to it? Even though you aren't open to it, you're still exposed to it. Once you're exposed to it, your brain
There's no
is
going
like,
back. Yeah.
your brain is just like, what the fuck? And then other things happen to be in the area. There's all kinds of, and then the whole veil lifting thing that you were talking about, Jamie. So like, yeah, that's super interesting. So I love the theories about the UFOs mixed with Bigfoot stuff, but that, to me personally, though, I'm like open to a lot of things, it seems like a little bit of a bridge too far for me. But I think that high strangeness is high strangeness at the end of the day. Like we always talk about, it's all connected by this thread of whatever it is we're trying to define in these conversations.
I've got a couple direct things that are really cool. Just like the Dyatlov Pass incident, the 8 or 9 people that went missing.
One of my favorites.
Connected to like the Yeti. They saw, a UFO or some kind of weird light in the sky. So that was just very cool. And then of course Amber's Peril World is in here, and she has a close relationship with a Bigfoot in her woods, in her yard, called the Woodman. And that one doesn't like the extraterrestrials. But then I have another friend, Donnie Miller, who he runs Standing Goats Rescue. He has famous Sasquatch and Cyclops encounters on Sasquatch Chronicles and Bigfoot Odyssey. But he was abducted by aliens when he was younger, and they put a chip in his arm. And then a couple years later, he broke his wrist. And the doctor said, hey, you have some kind of weird metal in your arm. And then his whole life, he had crazy Sasquatch, Dogman, and like Frogman encounters. So those creatures can definitely tell when you've been changed or manipulated by the extraterrestrials. So it works both ways. The Sasquatch are interested in what the extraterrestrials are doing, but the extraterrestrials are definitely interested in what the Sasquatch. But same thing. Once the veil is open, once you see connection is connection, energy is energy, boom. It all just starts to definitely connect. But
so is it
they're
almost
not
like
the same thing? Are they the same thing?
I definitely, what Jamie was saying, they come from the same energy, but that's where it all comes. Like, are we the true Earthlings or is Sasquatch, and are we alien DNA? Because our DNA is older than this planet, so it came from somewhere else. But I am big on Earth being it. We're the center. We're everything. Every planet everybody's ever heard of is in Earth's system. There are hundreds, there's thousands of continents out there. We hear about it, in King Kong, Journey to the Center of the Earth. Even what's the new one? Sandra Bullock and the Homeboy, The Lost City. Jungle Cruise. It's all about Middle Earth and the dome above us. Jack and the Beanstalk. Of course, everybody's Studio Ghibli, Castle in the Sky. There is some kind of roots to all of this, and I don't think extraterrestrials come from like 240 light years away, bro. I think they're from like 3,000 miles that way, or maybe underground in Middle Earth. So I think these extraterrestrials and these aliens are way closer than, the news is saying. They're like, oh, the Navy tracked it that way. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on around here, but if we could see what's happening on the surface, the extraterrestrials are already among us. And, if you do mushrooms, you see energy is everywhere. It's not just what our eyes and ears can see, because my cat can see like 27 more colors than I can see. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Yeah, and all this stuff doesn't even
necessarily
necessarily have to be interdimensional. It's just frequencies, right? It's vibrational frequencies. So is it fair to say that some things could be within this realm with us and share the same quote unquote dimension? However, they know how to manipulate their frequencies to allow themselves to be seen or not be seen.
Well freaking said, man. Like, and that could be literally like camouflage. Like you can kind of see a glimmer, kind of like Predator, kind of like how Gemma's talked about the Glimmer Man, or literally what you were just saying. They have found a way to totally manipulate the grid, that they exist here without us even knowing. And I love that. And that kind of brings spirits, paranormal, consciousness, heaven, hell, demons, you know, and then all the animals on Earth. It combines it all, and that's what I'm big on. I didn't want it to be super strange because it's reality. Reality is strange, you know.
So it's almost like you hear about like different reptiles, or like the classic thing would be like, I guess like Jurassic Park, like the T-Rex only sees like movement or heat or whatever it is, but there's other versions of those senses that can be turned on dependent on who's interpreting it, right? So maybe things like Sasquatch have that sixth or seventh or eighth sense to tap into things and visually see things that we're not capable of seeing, whether that be intent or vibes or energy, you know. So I don't know. I'm just kind of
No, you're spot on 1,000,000%. And I see what Big Willie said. He said, what about faces in orbs and people seeing Bigfoot turn into orbs? I have two cool things about that. I was at the Crawley Museum, or the Crawley House in Myakka, which is a really haunted place. One time they did an Aleister Crowley seance in it, and then the house started vibrating, and all the cows and goats underneath the cabin. It was really freaking cool. Yeah, the goats too. It was wild. But I actually took a picture in there, and there's a goat man chair. But my orb that I got has a goat man face. Oh man, crazy. But then the next one, he said, seeing Bigfoot turn into orbs. And this is one of my favorite videos. Tim T in Florida. He let me stay with him multiple weekends. Great family. We're Turners here. But he's an awesome researcher, awesome YouTube channel. Tim T has trail cam footage of a Sasquatch head, and then you see an orb, and then it carries a deer across the screen, and then you see the Sasquatch a couple frames later. Yes, I think Sasquatch and probably people could turn into orbs, but it takes training, and there are missing 401 cases too, of like a father and son being really worn out, and then they see two like headlights in the middle of the woods, and then the dad runs after it, and then he comes back and the kid's gone. So sometimes these orbs can be used to negatively manipulate us. And then there's lots of theories with like blue orbs are the extraterrestrials trying to spy on us. Red orbs are like good and positive. I don't know. There's a lot, you know, you guys hear it. There's lots of crazy stories out there. But you just got to absorb what you can. Nothing's totally right or wrong. It's just right or wrong for you and how it works.
That's exactly what I've always said.
Like out in Myakka, it was creepy.
Oh, did you?
Creepy place.
Well, I always say that these things, when they come to you in a very personal manner. It seems like a lot of people's experiences are very much so tailored to them, even though that there are similarities. I'm not saying that everyone's experience is drastically different, because there are a lot of threads that go throughout a lot of UFO stories. But one thread that they all have is like a lot of these contacts happen to be personal. And I see that bleed over into this cryptid world a little bit too, where it tends to be a little bit more on that personal side. And so do you think that is happening with kind of in the Bigfoot world? Like, do you think that they're actively being very conscious of like what we are and what we would need to like communicate with them or see them, and they're taking those steps and those measures to do that?
Definitely. I think they can just feel us as a society and as community, and they reach out to ones who are ready and mean them no harm. Like a lot of good people that I'm friends with in this community, they just lay it all out on the line in the forest. Like Long Island Bigfoot, he's been through war and a lot of traumatizing things, and he went to the forest to heal, and he met a Bigfoot named Bubba that has taught him so much, and now he's back on his feet, got a family, you know, beautiful things going. So I guess sometimes they could be our guardian angels and something for more, but I don't think they're like trying to save humanity or anything.
No.
You know, they know what's what, but they are trying to get some of us ready. Kind of just like how Noah was, you know, contacted by his thoughts and feelings. So I think it's even more than just the Sasquatch too. There are many fairies out there, and then alien guardian angels that are connecting with human beings and giving them clarity. And sometimes we might not even know that it's coming from the other side. Like we just see those synchronizations and that influence and that inspiration, and that just that extra push to just do something once in a while, that might have came from somewhere magical. You know, I'm big on we are magical. We carry it.
I 100% believe that. I've always said that the things about like synchronicities and stuff, like there has to be something bigger at play than that. And I just call it the universe myself. That's my nice universal language for it that I use. But it's not like these things are just happening. Like something is putting it inside of motion, and it's something that we can't see. You know what I mean? And whether that be a goddamn ghost making sure that my head fucking turns every time it's 333 or some bullshit, like, but that's incredibly possibly what could be happening. And quite honestly, probably is what's happening.
100%. I like to fall into the conundrum as is it ourselves, you know? Energy is never created nor destroyed. It is the only thing that has just always existed. The only thing that has never existed is coincidence. That's the first line of my book. Coincidence is the only thing to never exist. Like, no freaking way. Mermaids, three-headed dragons. I've talked a lot. I've never made anything up. Like, it all just comes up from the world of existence. We're just pulling, you know, and it's all connected. Like we were saying, all of our brains, all of our energy. It was a really cool like crossword puzzle experiment back in the day. They had one control group do the crossword puzzle, and then they got their results. And then the world knew the answers, you know, then the answers came public. Then another control group that didn't hear the answers, they do it. They did significantly better on that crossword because the answers were already out there in existence, just easier to pull, easier to grasp. So I think we're all connected, and that's why it's important to lift each other up and try to, you know, just lead by example, because you don't know who's watching, when and where.
No, it's 100% true. And so I do want to talk about your TikTok stuff. So these videos that you have that are going viral, not your lives, what kind of stuff are the videos that people are really clicking on? Like, what's the things that are really getting people's attention? Like, what when it comes to Bigfoot, because your page is specifically very tailored to the Bigfoot stuff, what is the stuff that's getting people interacted and involved with Bigfoot now?
Yes, definitely the footage. It is a mixture of people having their minds blown and then other people just tearing it apart. And there is a lot of negativity out there, but the positivity flourishes so much on TikTok. Like if someone comes negative on YouTube, it's like, dang, you kind of came far for that. TikTok, you just swiped and we're a little negative. You don't even bother me. But definitely the footage blows up. But I also do a lot of, you know, like collages or montages that I'll show about 6 pictures that I've dug up from the internet and then put a, you know, trendy sound, and it's about 15 to 20 seconds. And, you know, I watch it myself, and right when I, you know, have that, like, not lose interest, but right when my mind starts going that way, boom, that's the end of that video, you know, because it's all about watch time on TikTok. So if they're clicking off halfway, that hurts. They're like, oh, I liked your video. Yeah, did you watch the whole video, bro? Like, you guys are hurting me. But of course, we appreciate
short attention spans.
I was gonna say, do you feel like, because you've been doing this kind of stuff, writing books and all these things for a long time, like, do you feel like the consumption of people's content now is becoming smaller and smaller, in a sense that like you're making such drastically different context? Like you're no longer you go out and you make an hour-long video and you're uploading it to YouTube, but that 30-second clip you're putting online is the thing that's getting way more attention than any. And obviously there's a big difference between your TikTok following and your YouTube. Like, why is it that you don't see that crossover between those two things? Is it that short attention span that we have kind of like going on in today's culture?
Yeah, I think it's short attention span, and wow, you have to walk people literally to your subscribe button. Like I have 69,000 on TikTok or whatever. Like 1% of that is a lot, you know. If 1% carried over, that would be something. But we're dealing in like 0.1%, you know, just to subscribe or follow. If I'm trying to sell my freaking book, we're talking like 0.001, you know. Like I'm good at the podcast and stuff. Like I connect with the crowd. Yeah, very, you know, how many people buy the book though is crazy, but it's not all about that. But
I'm gonna buy the book.
I know it, you know, I know, like it's crazy, but definitely the controversial stuff on TikTok really explodes. But I do my own videos too, that I go to locations, just like I went to Tate's Hell the other day, and that got 70,000, and that 70,000 of my own video definitely feels a lot better than you know, 4 million on some random footage.
That's just something that you put up. Yeah, there's I think a difference too, because like it's like that's what gets those clicks, and so you want to post that kind of stuff because that's what gets people interested. But at the end of the day, the stuff that you're trying to push is really like your own content, and you're trying to show like it's not just that, but like look what I've done, like look at these other things that are out there. Like yes, it's so great to look at a lot of these older cases because it gets newer people involved with this kind of stuff. But then also at the same time, it's like you guys, there's so much more information, and sometimes I think we focus so much on older stories that we aren't looking for new things. And I think that you do a very good job of keeping that balance in all of your stuff where you talk about older stories and stuff, but you're also constantly going out there with boots on the ground and trying to get different evidence and angles of this phenomenon and bring it to the masses in a very palatable way.
I definitely appreciate that. And that's what it's all about. I work at a comic book store, and people still look at me sideways when I talk about Sasquatch, but it's about the people that I do, connect with. And I have new encounters and new stories and new interviews literally every day. I've had a lot of people that, don't like my vibe, and they say, oh, he'll fade away when the novelty wears off, like freshness. No, man, I'm always evolving, always expanding.
Fresh.
Always
those people.
Yeah, come on, man. Brush your shoulder off. I came up on AOL and MySpace. You ain't gonna tell me.
I know, right? That's what I'm saying. Like I learned how to code on MySpace. I was like, bring me back to those days, man.
That's the thing. They ain't gonna bully us. We grew up on this stuff. Like you're not gonna outwit us. Join the train or get ran the F over. Really get good at ignoring, especially the skeptics of me. Like I was telling a guy today, like. It gets to a point that's like it's FU numbers to some people. Like I'm all fun and games, but if people are gonna hate, it's like, bro, come on, man. But I think that listen, here's the thing. I think that like our new approach that we have is you just completely ignore, because if you don't give any power to it, it can't continue, right? And I think that happens with a lot of things in life. So like when something bad happens, let's say that you get a flat tire. What really is it doing when you put all of that negative energy into being angry about having a flat tire, right? Instead, why don't you turn it into, all right, how am I going to fix this situation? And so I think that we have to kind of carry that on to like these personal things. And unfortunately, when people don't like us, and I think it's hard too, because there's a very thin line about people's opinions of us and then people like just attacking and saying mean things. And I think that it's hard because like we want people to have their opinions. Like it's okay if you don't like us or you don't like our content, go elsewhere. But to not like it and to just like bombard us and tell us that you don't like it, that's not okay. Like you're allowed to have your opinion, but to attack someone is also not cool. But then at the same time, I feel like too, is like you were saying, it's the fuck you numbers. There's also a little bit of motivation behind that shit. Because sometimes when I have somebody hating, and then that's the exact reason why I do whatever the shit that they're hating on about, because I'm like, that's just like, you do the opposite kind of stuff. So it's interesting, but I think like, unfortunately, all of us have signed up for this culture of being judged and comments throwing at us by people because we're internet personalities. You know what I mean? And I think that one thing that we all need to do, I think anybody who's creating content is, I feel like, I don't know if this is a real thing, but we all need to take some goddamn classes on how to deal with social media and with people's comments and stuff like that. Because I think that so many channels have a hard time because of the way people respond to things, maybe you get in your comments and you're like yelling at a fan or something. I've done it on our shit before. Like, I'm not trying to say that I haven't done it, but I think that if we all learn to not do that kind of stuff, it would completely change it. Like, I think at the end of the day, it's about creating good content, and that's what's important. A bazillion %. And if anybody doubts that, I've written 4 books, put out a bunch of movies, very active, awesome. Boots on the ground. Like that's why I just work so hard that I like, if they want to talk smack, I'm going to bash them off.
I can't imagine why anyone would talk smack about you, honestly, because I feel like,
the nicest person.
You're so sweet and you're so nice. And the only reason I could see someone disliking you is because they're just genuinely jealous of you. Like that's the only motivation I can see for someone not liking you.
I definitely appreciate that because I am definitely nice and genuine, and I carry like my heart on the sleeve, because if someone's attacking me, I'm like, man, what did I do? I'm open-minded. I'm never, again. So when people bash me, I'm like, man, yeah, it does hurt, but yeah, you gotta be bigger than it too, because yeah, once it's 70,000 people, once it's 5 million people seeing your stuff, it's going to be a lot of people. And look at the world nowadays. They're all confused, they're all hurting. You'll find your I just
Yeah,
want
Hurt
we-
people, man. Hurt
Yep.
people, hurt
Trauma
people.
breeds more trauma, unfortunately.
I had fuck, I just lost my question. It was something.
Oh no.
Fuck. I have a list of questions, but one of the questions had just popped up. God damn it. I'm sorry.
Okay, move on to your
Also,
next one. It'll come back.
I will.
I was a battle rapper, rap battling people, and
okay.
a white boy in front of a whole
Sea
crowd
rabbit.
of people that don't look nothing like me.
Rabbit.
It adds charisma, 100%. I actually freestyled at the shelter where 8 Mile did his battles. I freestyled with the lead singer of Sticky Fingers, Dizza Frost, and it's somewhere on YouTube. It's got like 8,000 views.
That's
But
so cool.
I've performed
amazing.
concerts and then I've been in MMA backyard fights, and it's on YouTube. I shattered a kid's face in 6 seconds.
Oh my god, I swear to God, Connor, you are a master of all.
You have a black belt in not giving a fuck, and I really
I'm all
admire
good
that.
vibes. I'll burn one with you and pull you out of the freaking mud. But bro, like you hurt someone or talk the wrong smack, it's gonna be either
It's gonna
battle
be.
rap.
You can get hood, yeah.
I
Bree,
love
did you think
that.
of your question?
Mikey Pipes knows. Mikey's one of the
I
freaking
didn't.
toughest dudes in the 305, and I was standing right there drinking with him. It's real recognized real. That's what I can say.
it does. It's
have you
true.
ever flowed with a Sasquatch?
They got the beat, and I flow out there. I actually,
Seriously though,
I have freestyled in my videos, and then we've had activity after. So I do think that sometimes, like throat calling, I'm not good at throat calling, but our vocals can attract these creatures 1,000,000%.
It's about intention, though. At the end of the day, I think some people forget that. It's
Yeah.
sometimes like real, actual, like witches and people will tell you it's not about the actual words you're saying; it's about the intentions that you have put behind them.
On that note, do you feel like that these things are like inherently like have some sort of aversion, or they actively avoid like technology or people with the intent of capturing evidence in real time, whether that be on a camera or a GoPro? Or do you feel like they can sense your intent when you're trying to conjure them in? Like, this isn't like in good faith. This is just to kind of like exploit our existence or something like that.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a weird balance that I always find myself in. It's like, do I go out hiking today with nothing and like feel the forest and have nothing to show for it? Or do I, bring the technology and then have to meet them halfway? Because exactly what you said, you're calling them in, but are you calling them in to trap them? But again, you can just communicate with them and let them say, hey, you can reveal yourself in my footage if you want. So they live in a world of subtleties. I have literally dozens, hundreds of comments now, emails sent to me like 12:31, black face behind you, white Yeti holding a baby at 16 minutes. Like they'll reveal themselves. And sometimes with that GoPro, they know how to, hide from the light and reflect with their vibes that they might be right there, right in front of you, and not right there, or not right there on camera. But I definitely think that they go through that screening mentally, and they only reach out to you if they know and trust you. So it's either you're in a forest for a long time and get to know that trust, or your very first time and they're going to just try to seek you out. Those are your best times to connect with Sasquatch, of course.
Okay, so I got to ask you this, and this is my last question. Can you go into, well, for me, I want to let you guys ask them questions, but can you go into maybe your most like intense or profound experience? Whether that be with Bigfoots or something else, it doesn't matter. Just tell me about like
anything like paranormal, otherworldly.
Yeah. One time, like the one time I really feared for my life was up in the Cherokee National Forest up in Tennessee on Cohutta Mountain. And Cohutta translates to big frog. And I'm a mud fossil maniac, so I think that mountain was a big frog at one point in old Earth. But we had a whole weekend camp out with like for Sasquatch. It was Old Bear's Den, Squatching Cowboy, and Manimal Research. And it was a great weekend. But Old Bear's Den, he has supposedly killed 3 Sasquatch, and he said it in his presentation. Janice Carter, who knew Sasquatch, she actually was told that through telepathy from the Sasquatch. So multiple sources, confirmed this. But he was contracted to kill 2 Sasquatches from farmers, and then a third one, a female, was going to be kidnapped, and he blew its brains out. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, where's the evidence?" If a creature is about to kill your girlfriend and you kill it, you're getting the F out of there. You don't give a dang what people on Reddit think. Oh, I'm going to prove this. Like, no, you want to get out of there and live your life. So I'm not like holding that guy to like, he should have got a trophy or something. But he talked about how he killed these Sasquatches and how Janice Carter was told by Sasquatch about this. But the last night on this three-day expedition, me and my buddy Tristan go out for after midnight, and we make it probably like halfway up the mountain, and we start getting like the worst vibes ever. Like we're being trailed, like we're being followed. And he called it his spidey senses. And we ended up making it to the river just so we had something to have our back against so we could like see. And we were just going to jump in the water at that point and be carried all the way to the dam. I'd rather drown than be killed by whatever was out there. But I really had a really bad negative attitude out there. I was like, I ain't got no time for this. Like, we got to get back. Like, it was just really short rhetoric, not my usual like self. And so it was just crazy being that far back and having to like hightail it back. But Tristan kind of like jogged back and I went backwards, and I accepted that if a creature's coming, I'm going to get killed, and at least he'll get back, and, you know, the information will get shared. You know, not like a story will be told. It's like, yo, Connor needs help out there. You know, it's not about no glory at that point. It was about survival. But we ended up making it back, and I literally felt like we were being hunted, like literally right outside of where my flashlight was. I felt like just swarms of them were coming in. And I don't know if it was Sasquatch or dogmen, because Janice made a camp the year before leave early because of dogmen. So again, I don't know if it was dogmen trying to hunt us down because of the situation, or if it was Sasquatch trying to get revenge on Old Bear's Den, because he's an old timer. He's, you know, a minister and telling this story. And then the two youngest people at the camp, that's who I would go after if I wanted revenge. So I felt like I was going to be this revenge marker, but never got a visual sighting, but you could just feel they were there, like silently. I don't know. My heart was beating so loud. It's definitely a mild encounter, but it scared the crap out of me. And after hearing so many missing 401 cases, I feel like we might have been the next ones, because right after was like one of the worst storms of the year. And we ended up staying the whole night and getting flooded out. A lot of camps ended up leaving, but we felt like if we stayed out there anymore, that storm would have hit. There would have been no sign of us. They would have never found us ever again. But that was one of them.
Maybe they were trying to scare you away to get you out of the area. Storm,
that's also what we considered too. That he was trying to get it from the storm, trying to get us back to camp, or maybe they brought the storm and they just missed us, or it was Sasquatch trying to like somewhat scare us to protect us from what's worse out there. So it was a mixture of, you know,
that was nice of them.
So many thoughts. But yeah, it was madness. But I've had my house broken into before when I've been sleeping there, and then also when I was at college and my mom had to deal with it. My sister was in a coma for 7 days. That was really crazy. She woke up when we were in a church prayer service, and she told me a lot of crazy encounters and stories and conversations with God and angels. But man, yeah, I've done Aleister Crowley seances. When I moved to Lakeland, I was low-key in a cult. Like, I joined that punk rock musical band, and I was staying on the couch, but we were doing some dark magic, and they kind of had me under their nail because I was like the couch surfer, you know. But luckily broke free from that, and when I moved to Western Florida, it took a couple months to get like back to reality. But man, yeah, life is strange. Life is weird. Definitely had some weird nightmares that I woke up, you know, I don't know if I was bleeding, but, you know, scratched and choked and really effed up. Broke my collarbone running from the Sasquatch with a strange sound. Pooped my pants in Pascagoula because I was mocking the forest, and ended up jumping and then landed on a beam, and then boom, the bottom just fell out like a weak shark. You know, it wasn't a real bad mess, but something messed with my stomach.
Have you had any near death experiences?
None that I was like in an actual coma or like very hurt, but I have flipped in a car before, and I've been near gunshots, which, you know, definitely sets you straight. I've been charged at by a deer, which isn't like near death, but if they kick you in the right area,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
you're
it can
dead.
definitely mess you up. And then I've been bitten by a dog through my arm, and like a lot of fat fell out. But I feel like a lot of my abilities, or just not even gifts or abilities, I think everybody's clairvoyant. I'm just more in touch with it because I've like shedded so much of the precognitive yes that is put on us, you know. Like I don't know the order of Venus, Pluto, or any of that crap, but I know a lot about what I know about, you know. So I've forgotten a lot that was programmed, and now I am just, you know, energy.
No, I totally feel you. If someone asked me to try to like recite all of who our presidents were, I'd be like, I have no fucking idea. If they were like, tell us a list of aliens, I'd be like, oh, let me tell you exactly deep details of each colors of their eyeballs and what I think that they eat. Like, I think that that's happens though. Exactly, yeah. Bree, do you have your questions, my love? Because I feel like I know you've been writing stuff down.
One of them was, what would you do or say to someone that is a non-believer?
Oh, 5 rounds. Come on, lace them up, bud. No, I would meet them at the simplest thing that very credible people, Native Americans have been talking about it for hundreds of years. And then police officers, firemen, loggers, truck drivers, military generals have all confirmed encounters. Cave art and cave carvings have showed these creatures in every single continent. There is dog-headed creatures in the pyramids, and there is mounds in America that have carvings of large creatures. And then mud fossils and mound builders scatter our world. So you don't even have to be a believer. We are on the back of an entity, you know, the back of the turtle. There is titans, there's leviathans, there's giants among us. And I just believe that, you know, we are supernatural. Dreams are a true existence. So I would just ask them, like, who they are, man. Like, where does it start and stop for them? You know, like, I don't know. I think life is magical. And the fact that we could take a picture and it can capture it and it stays there. Like, everything is magical. So I would just ask them what they believe in and where it stops, you know. Santa Claus and different planets and solar systems and the Easter Bunny, you know, it's been surrounded by us. And I think there's truth and roots to it all. But I don't know. I just want to punch every skeptic in the face. Like,
Listen,
probably one of the
I was asking because I'm not necessarily a skeptic, but even though we do this show, I'm also a person that has to see it to 100% believe it. So it's like everything with Bigfoot and all these other cryptids. In my mind, I put it together and I'm like, yes, that makes sense. It's logical. So even like in a lot of our other Bobby Cryptid Corners, I will fact something because it makes sense to me. But down to the deepest roots, I don't know because I haven't experienced it. So it's like, what can I do? Where do I go to 100% believe it? That's why I was asking the question. Not just for like all the crazy skeptics that don't believe in anything, but for someone like me that has to really experience it
for a respected
before they can like put it on the line.
For a respected skeptic, I definitely want skeptics to do as much research as me. You know, if skeptics are like, oh, there's no DNA research out there. Come on, man. You know, I have 2 hair samples.
Yeah, no, for me, it's not about research. It's not. We've done enough research where when we do a case, I'm like, that's a fact. It's not even about the research. It's about the experience for me. I think I've always been like that. I have to experience something to fully know it. Because I think when you can conceptualize something, that's different than when you know, like, full body, heart, and soul. That's a totally different type of know. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I feel. Like, even with aliens, I'm the same way. I probably would say the same thing unless I was an experiencer. I just have to, like, experience it to know. Then it's like real life. It's not just something you think of. It's like with science. It's like, okay, that makes sense to me. But unless you can see the atom splitting, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I definitely recommend like respected skeptics. Definitely check out, museums like Sasquatch museums. That way you can hold a cast or maybe see a turd or see a picture of what the hair looks like under,
A
a
turd?
microscope.
Did you just
Yeah,
say hold a turd?
at the
Haven't heard that
Expedition
since
Bigfoot
96.
Museum.
Hold a turd.
At the Expedition Bigfoot Museum up in Georgia, Cherry Log, Georgia. I did a nice tour on there on my YouTube. But you could go there, and they have hundreds of casts of handprints, butt prints, footprints. They have pictures of hair. They have samples of hair. They have a big turd that's like 28 inches long in a glass case. They got lots of cool evidence. And, sometimes it is like it's a little suspicious. But for someone that's on the fence, I definitely recommend to go somewhere to maybe a conference or a museum, just so you can physically see it and hold a cast. I have a couple casts here. I casted this live. This one is definitely not as specific as, say, this one. This one was down in a cave, and we got footage filming it and electrical interference. But this one's really cool because it's got the toes and the foot scrapes. And there was only one foot, and we filmed the whole area, searched the water and everything. And it's down in a cave. And lots of people have commented that the electrical interference might be like Morse code or something sent to us. But this is most likely a young female into the 400. They have casted like 200 footprints. This looks very similar to the young females. But I'm not opposed to it maybe being a homeless person that maybe wanted to bathe down in the cave. There is different possibilities, or maybe a creature like the Descent. But you could see specific details on this, and it's very remarkable. I have other ones that are like small prints that are possible juvenile prints, possible knuckle prints. So I definitely encourage everybody to have casting supplies. You could just get it from Lowe's, plaster of Paris, and then have a Taco Bell cup in your back seat just to mix it into. But it's just be prepared. Always be prepared. Even if you're not into Sasquatch, guys, it's very cool to do prints of deer and bobcat and boar and everything.
Yeah, Bobby?
I have a question while we're on the topic of skepticism, because you seem like a very receptive person, putting it lightly, which is great. And I don't mean any disrespect by this question, but do you personally ever have a spidey sense or a bullshit meter, for lack of a better word? Are you ever interacting with someone about encounters and be like, I'm sorry, this guy just sounds like he's full of shit, or or are you just kind of open and accepting to anyone's own experiences?
No, I'm definitely I got a bullshit meter, but I don't just shut down people because they say something that's maybe outside of my beliefs or outside of my awareness. But, I am a cool guy and a public figure. So
you're not going to be a dick about it.
Right. But a bunch of people do try to sway stuff up to try to act cool to me. And I'm big on just be yourself, man. That's 10 times more than we do need, But yes, I'm the first one to call out the establishment and all this crap. So I'm the most skeptical person out there, I feel, but some people are like, man, Connor's gullible. He falls for everything, I
always say that I'm so skeptical that I'm skeptical of the skeptics, if that makes sense. Like the dominant paradigms of our world. I'm like, well, okay, but who's to say, you know what I mean? It's like I'm so no nonsense that I'm like, hey, you don't fucking know either, to the skeptics. I don't know if that makes sense, but cool.
For sure. A skeptic can't tell me much anymore because I've been boots on the ground. I've talked to people and the numbers. I hate to be shallow about it, but F them.
No, it's true.
The numbers speak for themselves, man. We've contacted over 25 million people about Sasquatch awareness.
And if one of them's real, it's
more
real.
votes than Homeboy got. Really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hell yeah.
Oh,
I would like to know that if I were to drive to Panhandle, Texas, can I camp in your backyard?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Panhandle, Florida.
Oh, 100%, man. We can camp at Torreya State Park. Can camp at Ocheesee Pond. We can even take kayaks out and sleep on the water. I'd be down for that. But I have 2 extra rooms here in the trailer, man. Or if you're really fancy, you can stay at my mom. She's down the street. She'll cook 3 meals for you a day, and she's got a pond that you can fish on.
All right, we'll talk offline. You're vicariously inviting everyone that's in the chat right now when you talk.
Yeah,
about
all
these.
28 of them in there are coming along.
Oh,
for the
I
ride.
wanted to ask you also. Are you one of those people that believe that we should capture Bigfoot and turn him in to prove to people?
Definitely not. It's already been done. Sadly, there's been so many of them killed by hunters. There have been so many of them killed by the Black Ops, Green Berets. I've talked to people that have killed them, sadly. And then the capture of the Ochisi Pond Wildman, they had him. They tested him. They had a file on him for 3 years. You know, it's all the agenda. Like, we're not going to capture one and bring it in, and then they're going to put it on CNN and it's going to be, oh, Bigfoot's real. No, man, that's already happened, you know, if so. But no, I am totally against hunting these creatures down. But again, if they're going to hunt you down, I'm all for protecting yourself. But again, I think those people that are demanding a body should do more research, because there
Yeah,
have
are
been.
you strapped when you go in the woods?
Sometimes I go with people that are strapped. I usually just carry a knife with me. But I just did pass the class for my license, so soon I will be legally carrying. But again,
Nice.
it would not be for the Bigfoot. It would be for the hogs down here, the rattlesnake, the rhesus monkey. Because the rhesus monkey, they took over
What?
after. Yeah, there's monkey in Florida because it's Silver Springs. They had a jungle cruise and they brought them over just to stay on an island. And then within 30 minutes, they swam over to the mainland, and now they're all throughout the state. And they have really
is this
bad
a monkey
bacteria.
or is this something that could be mistaken for a Sasquatch?
It's a small monkey. They're
Okay,
like,
I've heard
rhesus
this.
monkeys are-
I've
But
heard the
but
swamp
there's
ape theories
orangutans.
about. Go ahead.
Yeah, like lost orangutans in the Everglades. You know, they say
Yeah,
the skunk
yeah.
ape
That's what I was gonna
pictures. Like,
say.
the Mayaka skunk ape pictures are incredible. It shows two different actions. You can see the teeth moving, the eyes change. But I was told that there's dozens of those photographs. But they were sent anonymously to the Sarasota Police Department, and they've been shared many times. And the creature here in Florida definitely looks different than Patty at Bluff Creek. And Dave
Sure.
Shealy, he has gotten 4-toed footprints. We have found 6-toed footprints. And then how you guys talked in the Honey Island Swamp, 3-toed footprints. And the Honey Island Swamp and all these Florida swamps in Alabama, it all links together. All the same creatures are lurking. The rougarou, the lugaroo, all these strange elementals, you know. But yeah, I definitely think that there's a connection between the monkeys and Sasquatch too, and then maybe even the escaped orangutan. But I think it's a Gugway type creature, these skunk ape. But then there's devil monkeys too, like these tailed monkeys that are 5 feet tall, not as tall as Harry, like 8 feet, but like 5 feet, and they like to use it on all fours, but they walk on two too. So it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
One of my next books is called Deep South Swamp Things, that I talk about like 16 different skunk ape creatures.
Question: do you think that Bigfoot could be the missing link
Definitely
to humanity? Because that's like such a big thing with evolution. Obviously, it doesn't add up. I mean, we think it adds up, but we all know that there is a missing link. Do you think that Bigfoot is the missing link?
It's connected. The DNA that they have found on Sasquatch, they always comes back. The female side is human, but the male side is unknown. And they can trace back where the females come from. They can say if it's Asian descent, African descent, American descent. It's very interesting. And Melba Ketchum has a study about it. And of course, it has been dragged through the mud because there's some people that infiltrated it. And there was like 125 samples. And yeah, some of the samples were bad, of course. So, of course, they throw everything out. But my hair samples correlate with the samples found in Tennessee, and those correlate with the ones found in Minnesota. So again, we're not reaching the academia and the establishment for this. We can just codepend on each other. But Doug Hychak from Monster Quest, he has actually teamed up with some the DNA and U.S. like high departments that we are gaining ground. And that hair that Matt Williamson, Squatch in South Florida, found in Mayaka is actually being sent to that study. So really cool that part of my expedition might be, the link to the missing link. But yeah, man, it's definitely some kind of connection. And it goes to like, the giants coming down from the skies and mating with the people of Earth for the advanced technology. It's biblical times. It's the most important stuff of our history, and it's Sasquatch and it's aliens and flaming chariots. It's important.
100%. All right,
Word.
Bree, do we have any more
Right.
final questions for
we know what
for
that
Mr.
could
Bigfoot
be?
Anon here?
Do you have any idea as to what ethnicity it could be tied to? Or is it just like ancient man, like Africa? Well, because when we look at like our genealogy through all of our blood and stuff, it all kind of goes down to Africa. So do you think that's the pinpoint of race for Bigfoot? Could it have been like that's where Bigfoot is? That's where maybe Homo sapien mingled with Bigfoot, created us, and we just aren't as smart and big. And then for some reason, they're able to sustain themselves as being like lone creatures, where we're a lot more weak and we need companionship and we don't really know how to hunt or gather anymore.
Yeah,
Bob
I
Stoppa
definitely
has a
think,
good question too. So when you're done
Where
with
does
that
Bigfoot
one, answer
sleep?
that. Yeah.
yes. Where does Bigfoot sleep? Definitely in caves and in the densest areas, and probably in villages in the trees. And then, of course, how alligators can dig burrows in banks, and it's literally like a little cave inside there. Probably down in there to keep very cool. But there is endless labyrinths and chambers beneath our feet that they can exist in 1,000,000%. But going back to the original color, I think they are the original beginning, and their skin color is the true black now, because for
What do you mean by
generations,
original beginning?
I think they
Like
are the
beginning
true
of what?
earthlings. They're the earthlings. They're the
Like
true
the
beings of-
original sentient being of this planet, like above
Yeah, a lot of
all the
people,
other
a lot of data,
like
real-
peoples.
yeah, they're the
We
true
are
people,
Anunnaki
and then
people.
and then they needed us to mine for like the gold and the precious gems. So they mixed their alien DNA, like the god DNA, with the Sasquatch down on Earth to create
Here
us.
we are.
That's what the
Sitchins,
Sumerian
baby.
tablets and Zechariah Sitchin.
Wait a
NPN,
second.
and
So
Will.
you're hold up. So you're saying that the Anunnaki created Bigfoot?
Yeah,
No.
or Bigfoot already existed,
Yeah,
and
Bigfoot was here.
Anunnaki created us from Bigfoot.
From
That's where
Bigfoot,
it's
yeah.
the
That's what
huge
I'm
conundrum.
saying.
Did we come
Okay,
first, or
like
did
that.
they come first? But there definitely is a connection. And a lot of the cover up is like, oh, he's a monkey. He's a monkey man. No, they have special beings, special powers, and so do we. And there's a
Yeah, we do.
connection.
Mhm.
We cannot mate with monkeys, but we can mate with them. Zana, the Russian ape lady, she had a human child, and they actually have his skull, and there's pictures of him. And then the first two babies, she dipped in a freezing river, and sadly they passed away. But there is a lot of stories of females mating with these creatures, and
That's a super interesting story, by the way, Bree and Jamie. If we ever want to cover,
Yeah, we
that
should
one.
look into that.
We should. I agree.
That was one of my
Write it down.
questions.
We'll have Bigfoot Anon come on for that one.
For
Heck yeah,
sure. Oh
yeah.
my god. I feel like you're an expert in so many things that you can come on whenever and fucking school us in some shit.
Well,
Wait, there's
I
more
definitely appreciate the
questions.
open platform that I can let it go, and that when I'm
Let it
trying
go,
to
baby.
watch my words, then I miss some things. But when I can be myself, then boom, boom, bang, we get it.
Mhm.
I have
Hell
at
yeah.
least 3 questions for you. If I'm not interrupting you guys.
Very good.
No questions from Mr. Bobby?
No,
I'm all
no.
set.
Yeah, it's your questions.
Okay, so one of them would be, oh my god. So like, what do you think that we should look at next? At least a couple things, because you know a lot. Like every time you're talking, you're mentioning these stories and these other cryptids that I've never heard of, and these incredible cases. So what do you think is your top 3 that we should look into here on Bobby's Cryptic Corner
Ooh, that's a good question.
to know about and then to really like dive into?
Yeah, that's a great question. Of course, everybody loves like the Mothman stories of like Point Pleasant, but there have been Mothman sightings seen pretty much all around the world, but most recently in Chicago and New York. So maybe covering some modern Mothman. I love the lost civilizations. Here in America, especially, there was a lot of giants that supposedly went underneath the Grand Canyon. So maybe finding out what's underneath the Grand Canyon. And then I know you've done the Honey Island Swamp. I love the Honey Island Swamp. Anything New Orleans voodoo would be a really cool episode.
Ooh, yeah.
But the Pascagoula River alien incident, I'm sure you guys have done podcasts.
We've done that.
on it.
Yeah, we've done that before. Yeah, we did a podcast episode, not a YouTube one yet, but we should do one here on the Cryptic Corner. We did it, and it was a very short one. It was like a 20-minute episode.
Yeah,
and that one's
I
awesome.
need something with more bones. I'm not. Oh, come on, Connor, dig.
No,
Jesus.
I definitely feel
demanding.
that. I want you to do the Ocheesy Pond Wild Man too, the one I've been kind of ranting.
Yeah,
that
was
one
me. I was writing that down.
100%.
Can you tell me how to spell that? Because I'm writing Ocheesy.
OCH and then cheese and then another E on the end.
Yeah, O-C-H.
Ocheesy.
Yeah.
Okay, then never mind. I'm spelling right.
When I was searching it on Google, I had a couple Z's in there.
Like a Q.
It knew what I was talking about, though.
One really cool one I freaking love, though, is Huggin. I got 3 of them. It's the Alabama trio. Okay, Huggin Molly. She is from Albeville, Alabama. It's like an hour north of here. On the Welcome to Alabama sign, you see her chasing you, her cryptid beast, and she's like 7 feet tall. And after dark, if you're caught in Abbeville, she will find you and she will squeeze you so hard that your bones shatter, and that she'll screech in your ears until you go insane. I love that one. But then also the Alabama White Thing. Which is basically a white Yeti type creature, similar to like the thing I saw. But then my favorite, my long lost girl, the Mobile Wolf Woman. She is a she-wolf, and Jesus Christ, she is curvy and fine, man. So I have been on her trail for a while.
Nice.
The Mobile Wolf Woman, and anybody that has been through Mobile, you go under the tunnel, and the tunnel is haunted too. But man, if you get off into the woods or in the swamps there, if you got to get gas, make sure to call for the girl out there. But
this is in Alabama.
Yes, Alabama is
like
America's Amazon. People don't know how many waterways.
It's like Wolfgang from X Factor. If you guys are comic nerds.
Oh yeah.
I feel scared to go to Alabama. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Such a racist background that I'm just like.
Get to know the people. You'll feel.
Yeah, get to know.
I want to just recommend real quick, since I know you work at a comic book shop, but are you into comics at all?
I am pretty into comics, like honestly, just on like the beginner's level. Like I love movies and comics and how it all connects.
That's good enough for what I'm about to tell you.
Issue 3, 1994. I'm like,
yeah, you're not like a savant with it.
Wait, when were you born? When were you born?
I was born August 28th, 1992. I was just making fun of a random edition. People come in and they're like, yeah, 1994, issue 4.
You're a Leo. You're a Leo.
Virgo. August.
Wait, are you
August
sure?
28th.
Oh, 28th?
But
yep, August 28th.
Oh, I thought you said 20th. My bad.
I slur my word.
Leo!
You need to check out a graphic novel, and the audience as well, if you're into this kind of thing, called Manifest Destiny. And it's basically a fictional comic book account of Lewis and Clark exploring the Western Territory, but like the obstacles and villains of the, I guess, quote unquote, villains of the story are like traditional American mythical monsters and like Indian lore and things like that. It's like really, really a badass comic book. Anyway,
Manifest Destiny?
That was Bobby's Nerd Corner.
I love that. Actually, speaking of that, Bobby, can you give us a Bigfoot movie recommendation? No, while he's recommending that, can you give me a Bigfoot recommendation?
Give me a second. Let Bree. Let
Bree and then.
Forgot to do that.
Could I say a few more cryptids real quick that I want you to?
Yes,
please.
Bessie, the Lake Erie monster. That one was closest to my heart because I grew up on Lake Erie. So every time we were fishing, we always heard about the serpent. And then right where I went to Bowling Green State University on the west side of Ohio. It's right by Toledo. And there was a couple bars right on the water that you could go under the bar and dump chum into the water and feed the monster. So it was always really cool. But then the Ohio River mermaids. and Ohio River has the mermaids, and that's more of an Indiana cryptid. But they also have the green clawed beast and the mantis man. So anything Ohio River, and then it's also Mothman, and then there's been mounds with giant bones discovered. So it all freaking connects. But I would love to hear that out of you guys. And then the lizard man of Scape or Swamp. He's known in the Carolinas as maybe a
We did
reptilian.
him, didn't we?
Yeah, we did actually.
We did. I think we did. I think we did do him.
Skip our swamp, but we didn't do like Wizard Man.
No,
It was
lizard.
Lizard. Oh,
Lizard
okay.
Man.
That's what we did.
That's
Yeah, we
just
did
what
the
some
lizard
people-
man. Yeah, we did that one.
Yeah.
We did that one
Never mind,
already.
never
That was
mind,
like an
never
early
mind.
episode.
Heck yeah.
No, it wasn't. It was like a couple weeks ago.
Really, I thought it was early.
It seems like yesterday
No.
because
We literally did that maybe 2 episodes
I
ago.
don't know.
And then also the
God
Pensacola
damn it.
serpent. I actually was just
Pensacola
out on a deep
serpent,
sea fishing
okay.
trip, and I let the whole boat know about that. I actually read like the paragraph I had from some other channel that talked about it. But like 5 kids were diving the USS Massachusetts, and only 1 kid survived. And it was like a Nessie type creature. And then out of Mississippi River into the Gulf, same water. I guess in the 1800s, they saw like 30 of these creatures fleeting into the Gulf. So definitely the Gulf was mentioned
Whoa.
in Godzilla vs. Kong, the newest one. That they say Pensacola is the apex. So I think there's something to it.
Ooh, okay.
Very interesting. But yeah, I love all the strange and weird stuff. And some names for the skunk ape: Cabbage Man, Rocky Creek Rodbender, 2-egg Stump Jumper. Those would all be fun to like dive into, and they all have different variances. Like the Rodbender, a lot of people found like rebar found in the woods. The
That's
Stump
probably why he
Jumper
got that name. Yeah.
like Shrek. He's not very tall, but he's thick like Shrek. And then, guys, the Grinch. Come on, that's a Bigfoot right
I
there.
mean,
He's
it
pretty
is it
Grinch?
not?
the
Yeah.
Dr.
He has a
Seuss
dog friend.
Grinch.
Yeah. Is he not? I mean, and if you think
He's
about
Yeah,
it,
but is
he
that not-
Sasquatch?
Yeah, but that's not based off of actual thing, unless Connor's saying
Or
it is.
is it?
Or is it? Exactly.
Dr. Seuss was onto something. I think that, of course, like modern day film and books, it's just like the bridge to the extraordinary, and extraordinary is all around us. I think there's roots to reality in everything. And that's where some people do come at me sideways. They're like, he doesn't know the difference between urban legend, fictional, and fact. And, sorry, but when you actually get to the root of it, the movie directors are basing it on fictional, basing the fictional stuff on the real stuff.
On real stuff, yeah.
To spoon feed us.
Into
at the
it,
very least, I think
That-
that fictional things can be a derivative of real things in some way or another.
That
So,
ripples
Mhm.
into my next question. My next question was a 2-part question. 1, what movies have you been in that I can write down? And 2, what movies would you recommend that we see?
Yes, I love that.
Obviously Bigfoot and cryptid related.
Yes. The movies I've been in, the first one is called Zillafoot. It's half
Hell yeah.
Godzilla, half Bigfoot. And I play a cryptid research officer in it, basically play myself. The military brings me in, and I give them all the truth. And they say, you're probably right, but you still got to get out of here. And that movie did so well online with SRS Cinemas that it actually got a widespread release. So it's in Walmart, FYE, Best Buy, and it's free on Amazon Prime. It is so bad. It's good. My parts
yeah.
I'm very proud of. But the sequel is going to be directed solely by my buddy Jack McClellan. So our 3 characters from my scenes are going to be the main characters in the next one. So I'm super pumped for that. It's a really fun thing just to talk about. But that crawled so that the future could run. And the next one was The Void Cat. And that is a Dogman movie. It's werewolves and splinter cats and wild men. And I basically play a paranormal investigator, and I find this cursed object, and I pick it up, and it takes over my mind, and it's in the shape of a cat or a panther. And then it fast forwards to I'm with my buddy, and he's a prick. He's a dad, and his daughter has a cat. He doesn't like it. He wants to poison it. The way of the world takes care of him. But it's a really cool, trippy movie. I definitely recommend, some nutmeg or mescaline before it to tap in. But I love it. It's a short film, and it's found a lot of success in film festivals. The first one we made it for was an in-person one, and we got a standing ovation, and people laughed at the certain parts. It was really cool, and it's gotten like top 3 in a bunch of other
Are they
festivals.
both on Amazon?
The Void Cat is private right now. It's actually being released next month. But all three of y'all,
Nice.
I'll send you a link in the private chat. I have a screening link for it. But that will be. We originally were gonna sell it for like $3.99, but then we're like, screw it, just put it out there. Let YouTube
yeah.
us, But man, that transpired. But the next one is called Pain in the Rear, and the script just got finished yesterday, and we having a meeting very soon. And I play a car thief, and I break into a car, and then I'm calling my chop shop guy, and I hear a thump in the car, and I open it up, and it's a girl, and I'm like, dang, she saw my face. Am I gonna kill her? So I'm like thinking about that, and then my chop shop guy comes, and he tries to kidnap her, and ends up she's a creature. And she rips him apart. And luckily I showed her mercy. So she like takes me under her wing to really take on Earth. And it's going to be super crazy. And it's going to link into Void Cat. And then Jack has made another movie called Lost and Found that it all is in the same universe. But those are some cryptid movies I was in. I just played a serial killer victim in a movie called The Choice. I filmed my parts right in my kitchen, right over there. I was just in a chair and just played dead. So it's super easy, and it's a female serial killer, and she has like pictures all over her wall of her past kills, and somehow it's going to connect in. So that was a really easy role for me. I was also in Life of Ryan, Ryan Sheckler's TV show back in the day on MTV. I met him and got to hang out with him at a do tour. It was just like a cameo thing. I was also in a movie called At the End of the Day, which was definitely a change of pace for me. It was a LGBTQ movie, which was really cool because I'm into like strange stuff, and LGBTQ stories, those people, they are people, man, and they have some of the most magnificent stories, and they've been casted aside by society, similar to how I have. So I communicated and connected with a lot of people I met in those industries, in those circles, together, man, and got to play a punk rock show at like the original Pulse nightclub, and that's pretty monumental because it just has so much Florida history. But that movie, I play a church goer in a 5K race, and it's definitely outside of my normal realm, but I got to be on like a feature film for the first time, and I got to see how the professionals do it. So I wouldn't trade that experience for the world. And the movie is pretty solid. I'm proud of it myself. But man, I definitely love like the serial killer and scary movie vibes, but I just love cinema too. So if anybody's trying to tell a rom-com or some kind of dramedy and needs some actors, I'm in for it. I'm going to be in a Fallout movie like next week or something. It's a Fallout fan fiction film that they needed some actors. And, I memorize the lines pretty quick and can improvise. So it's easy work for me. Same, just like podcasting, like it's exhausting, but I'm just being myself. So, I'm always prepared.
Sweet. Hey, so I think that's a lot of recommendations, Bree and Jamie. So I'm going to go ahead and just skip that part of the show for me, because nothing honestly comes to mind, and I don't want to overwhelm the audience with movie recommendations, but I will take Connor's segue that he fed me just now with all these lists of I guess you would call it like cult exploitation horror monster movie type fun, lowbrow, so bad it's good kind of stuff. Granted, I've never seen any of them, but I have a solid list going, and I'm just going to plug my own podcast, Not For Everyone podcast, which covers all those types of things
always
that he was talking about. So cult horror cinema, if you like that kind of thing, Bigfoot Anon, I might be reaching out to you for an interview if you want to start plugging Void Cat in the near future, and we can talk horror movies and stuff.
You can have the whole cast on, man. I'll get the guys. That would be awesome. Right. It'd be like a couple more screens than this. It'd be amazing. Is anybody on Letterboxd? It's a social media app.
No, what's that?
I'm on it.
Yeah, we got to follow each other. Might already follow each other, but it's a social media app for movies, and you can review and rate movies, and then you add friends, so you can see what your friends are watching. And my Letterboxd, like, they don't have a limit on how many people you can follow, so every single day at work, I follow the maximum, and that helps.
Are you Bigfoot Anon?
5 minutes, and now I got.
Who are you on Letterboxd?
Bigfoot Anon, baby, like 13,000 followers.
All right, I'm
Whoa.
following you right now. Yeah, it's great because you can find other people with similar taste as you and find weird, obscure stuff that you never even heard of and check it out. And it's like probably the most civil and fun, simple, non-controversial social media app out there. So I'm a huge fan of Letterboxd.
It's good vibes,
Nice.
and it's a bunch of nerds too. But it's really cool because
Yep.
actors and directors are on there too. Like the new movie Deep Water with Ben Affleck on Hulu. It's like some sex weird thriller movie. It was fun. I think the Anna girl is like so hot, so I could just watch it on mute. But even the director said, "I directed this movie and I hate it." So you know, it's tongue in cheek. Like Bobby said, it's good vibes too. You know, it's definitely special. And I
it's all about good
recommend
vibes.
everybody to follow me on there, just because I'm very active on there. I've logged 2,466 movies. So
Whoa.
man, I watch a lot of movies. It's definitely my main passion. Like I love paranormal, but movies, but it all connects. It really does. And cinema is like the bridge to consciousness. Like doing acid and watching movies is like one of the big rites of passages to get to that other side. Like do acid and watch trance, do acid and watch 2001 Space Odyssey, and do a lot of LSD and watch Enter the Void. That movie will F you up. There's literally like Reddit threads that it's like, if you watch LSD and you've watched this movie, what's up? You know, it's like, you want to hear what you got to say. You're like, well, how was your day? You know, so I definitely recommend that. But like we were saying before, when you take psychedelics and psychotropics, be mature, guys, and know what you're doing, because that's like the most heaviest stuff you can do. But again, I feel like, you know, I've taken a 10 sheet and survived and went in public. So, you know, I can handle the Dixie Cryptid interview, you know, 700, but yeah, I rocked it, you know.
No, you did such a good job. You did amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. When I was on stage at the Bigfoot conference, I had this energy, you know. No crowd is going to intimidate me.
You bring
no
such
naysayers.
good energy. No, listen, for a long time, people used to tell me that I talk too fast or I talk too much, and this is now what we do for a living. So, you know, I saw like a TikTok where someone was like, where are all those people who always used to get in trouble in school for talking too much in class? What do you guys do for a living now? Like, well, I think we're all out here fucking talking on the internet these days.
We're podcasting. Yes.
I don't do this for a living, so I don't know how that's happening, but okay.
Basically, Bobby, you
maybe
are.
one day.
Jesus.
I see Prag Magic in the chat. Hey, Prag, I peeped that you saw Bone Tomahawk. You said Bone Tomahawk earlier too. The Troglodytes. That's definitely a good Bigfoot movie. A lot of people are like, those aren't Bigfoot. They're cave giant creatures that ate the man. That's a Bigfoot. But he said Gaspar Noé, his work is beautifully unsettling. So true. He made Enter the Void. It will F you up. A movie called Love that is about a couple that brings in a threesome, and then how it just freaking falls down, like true love, and then they wanted some fun for one time, and then boom, it all shatters. That really F's with you. And then his newest movie is called Climax. That's about a bunch of dancers, and they their punch gets spiked, and they all start doing acid, and they don't even know they're tripping till it's too late, and a bunch of them freaking die. So it's like real life heavy crap, you know. And again, if I can stare that in the eye and get back, then I feel like, you know, me going in the swamp, I'll be all right, you know.
Yes, you killed it at the conference, says Mike.
Mikey V is a part of the South Florida team. He was part of the 168 Bigfoot Odyssey expedition and museum, or I guess documentary, just all of it. They're putting a lot together. It's not a museum, but it's a nice body of work. But also, he was on the Discovery Channel for exhaust pipes. He's the best of exhaust pipes in the whole freaking world. So that's what I think is so cool, is like, we're all cool in our own lives, and then we come to this, and it's all a collection, you know. So I'm so inspired by everybody, and I hope I could be inspiration. And if I'm not an inspiration, I can be what not to do for some people, because not everybody's going to vibe, and it's not going to work for everybody. And but you just stay true to yourself, and I can't be quiet. Like I can't. My heart beats too much. I got too many thoughts. Boom, boom, boom. I have to. This is me.
Can't stop, won't stop.
can't stop, won't stop, will never, you know. And again,
No, I'm with you.
They can take it or leave it, get ran over by the train, or better get some good earplugs, because I'm gonna be at the conferences, I'm gonna be on your favorite podcast, I'm gonna be talking to your best friend, probably be in the jacuzzi with your mama telling her about Bigfoot. So again, it's like, skeptics, I dare you. I dare you. But I do respect skeptics that do want to push us forward. But people that aren't well read and just sitting on that hill are like, there's no proof. How about we look at the proof, we analyze the proof, and then if you're skeptical of that, then I respect you. But denying proof.
We were already following each other on Letterboxd.
Hell yeah. Meant to be.
I love that.
That's
That's
a
the whole vibe.
synchronicity right there.
It's a synchronicity right there.
I love that. That's like Dixie Cryptid, was telling me he watches my videos. I'm like, man, I'm gonna walk a little harder. You never know who's watching.
Yeah, you do. It's true.
Like I've been I've been on interviews with the Discovery Channel with Expedition X. After one of my friends found a bone, they brought us in for like 3 interviews. It was through the phone and through like conference calls, but they loved us and stuff. So again, you never know. And I definitely want people to reach out to your local news stations. We are interesting, guys. We're podcasts talking about supernatural. Every local newspaper would be lucky to hear our story. So email your local newspaper, email your local news. This morning, I emailed like 200 CBD companies, like asking for free samples and telling them I like to use ganja out in the forest. My freaking email is filled. Now I'm feeling bad. Like they want to use like Bigfoot code 20. I'm like, I can't do that for 20 different companies, But
no, I know, right?
What's the worst they could tell you? No? Like
no,
how Jamie,
exactly.
You reach out to the highest of high for guests. Who cares who says
who
no?
Cares if they say
Remember
no? It's 100%.
Yeses,
yep.
And if it's for going for a girl, for a job, for an opportunity, for a hike, for a camp out, for a podcast, jumping on someone when they leave the StreamYard, like take that initiative. Like you don't remember what you didn't do. You remember what you did.
No, 100%. All right. Do we have any more questions for Connor, you guys? So
Connor, where can people find your work?
I have his link tree and all his, or not his link tree, his YouTube and his Twitter and stuff down in the description of the video. So you guys can go, please click that and follow him. I can't imagine anybody here isn't already following him on all of these things. His TikTok is on there as well, down there. Please go follow him. His content is so fantastic. And honestly, whenever you have an open availability in your schedule and you want to come hang out on a Tuesday at 6:30, our door is always open to you. We will gladly have you back on it anytime, my love.
Well, I definitely appreciate that. And you guys have my email, me on Twitter. So it's easy.
Yeah.
Always send the StreamYard. It's like Xbox. Like, hey, send me an invite. I'll join the
party. You do. And then people just jump in.
It's
true.
Boom.
Are you on Discord by any chance?
Yeah, I'm in our Discord and stuff, but I'm super new to it and stuff.
I was like, I never see you in there at all. I'll always hit you up on Twitter because you always respond to me on Twitter.
Twitter's definitely where it's at. Instagram, Bigfoot Anonymous on Instagram. Back when I first started going public with this, I was on SoundCloud and Instagram. So if you search Bigfoot Anonymous on SoundCloud, literally like dozens of hours of me narrating anonymous encounters, which I want to get those files and like bring them over to YouTube. It's like,
you have to. Oh my God, yes.
Someone out there.
Do that. I'll tell you how to do it. It's super
my
easy.
Files and send them to my email. God dang, please.
So easy to do.
I love you. Yes. But also SoundCloud, Instagram, TikTok is Bigfoot Anon.
Yep.
I'm going to hit 100K here in a couple months. Like I'm so excited.
No, before that, I tell you within the next, you'll start. I mean, you're almost at 70 right now. You're about to hit 70. I mean, let's get it the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, let's get out there. Let's push your shit. I'm going to go on Twitter. They have on TikTok. They have the new thing where you could repost people's stuff now. And it shows that you like repost it. So we should go and repost your stuff so that it gets more views.
Let's do it with all of us. I literally want to start a community that we all have times when we post and then all of us flood it with share. Because on TikTok, when you press share and then copy link, you don't even have to copy it.
You don't even have to copy it to anything. Yep.
Just press share and copy link. Watch my whole video. Drop a stupid comment, even if it's a stupid emoji, And that's like, I don't want to say I did this TikTok stuff by myself, but I've done this with a lot of like, not help from my friends. And I wish I did have my friends commenting on all my videos. It would be way further. And best believe that every time Gypsy Road drops a video, every time that Squatch in South Florida drops a video, and every time I've seen you guys, I drop that little emoji comment. So I'm not asking anybody to do something that I haven't done.
That you wouldn't do.
I donate, I buy books, I subscribe, I share, community tab. So if Connor could do it, 69,000 followers, wrote for. If I could find effing time to do it, then you can too.
Anybody can,
know?
100%. Absolutely.
So
I'm with you. I'm with you.
to the max, because it goes
You have to.
so far. Because us creators, we give, bend. And when we get it back once in a while, it's nice, you know?
No, 100%.
But it will never come back fully. But in those moments of true purity, it's tenfold, you know? It's priceless. So it doesn't even have to be money. It's vibes, you know, and it's conversations, and it's the times around the fire that we remember these, you know. So I'm really looking forward to the future, and just even the conversations. And you guys have great energy, and you guys are like the wild cards and wild childs of this, and it's needed, and I'm needed. And Bobby's needed. And Chad Smith, I love what he's doing with
Sonny. Oh my God, me
and
too. I love him.
Freaking Morales. Like, I want more Spookies in the community. I want more Jamies. I want more Me's. I want more Enzos. I want more Lees. Like,
I want more. I agree.
Just be you to the max, and let it be heard, you know? Write books, make YouTubes, make TikToks, race to 1,000 on TikTok too, guys. You could follow 10,000 people.
So easy, yeah.
Follow 10,000 people. Like, if you're not following 10,000 people, you ain't done it yet. You know, I followed 10,000 and my little ratio. Oh, it sucked. It was negative. Now look what it is. I followed 9,000. I got 70. You know, follow the max. Hope that 30% follow you back. You follow 10,000. You got 3,000 people that care. You know, and then you unfollow the people that didn't follow you back, and you do it again. Keep
do it
building.
again. Yep.
And you go viral.
That's what I think. What people don't understand about like all these social medias, it's a lot more hard work than people think it is. Because like when we started our Instagram, I did that same thing. We were just adding people and hoping that they added us back, and then months later, I'd go and like delete anyone who wasn't following us. I'd stop following them back. And I mean, it's all a numbers game with all the social media and stuff. And the more eyes you get in front of it, you know, the bigger it goes and the more it spreads. If you can get 5,000 people to watch that one video, another 10,000 are going to follow it easy.
1,000,000%. Once it hits the algorithm, it's crazy. Like 53,000 on the first hour on a video that I didn't even look at my phone. Like, I didn't even notice I was home. Like, I was like, okay. So that once you crack the code, it's hundreds of followers every day. Like, we were joking on Twitter how let's hope I'm still at 69, you know, by the show.
Exactly.
It's at like 69.7. So I've gotten 700 followers since we last talked about it. And those are 700 people. Some of these YouTube snobs will be like, that's TikTok. People are people, right?
People are people.
Awareness
no,
it's true.
100%. And they're completely different platforms. Completely different.
It's younger people too.
All right, Connor, we got to wrap, my love. I'm going to play our outro video. We'll hang out in the chat afterwards backstage. I love you guys, everybody in the chat. We'll see you guys, I think, on Thursday.
Bye, guys.
Episode. We love you. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Philip.